boy! Yo! Yeah! Welcome to the show! Welcome to the show! Yeah! If you didn't know, the 118th Congress is now in session! This guy is speaking for the GOP. We just heard the Democrats crying. And they were like, GOP this, QAnon that. Everybody in this room is fat. Out of shape, out of mind. It smells like dirty diapers. These politicians suck. Nobody likes them. I wish they would all go to sleep forever. Oh, yeah, boy. Oh, this guy is a Democrat. He's a loser. With his red tie and blue shirt. Ziggy Piggy said hello all. How the fuck are you? Are you ready? I'm starting off with a bang up in here. The Democrats are losing their mind. Y'all, they're losing it. QAnon this, Donald Trump that. Everybody, wait, does this suit make me look fat? Yes, it does. You suck, Democrats. So do you fucking dirty rhinos. Nobody likes you. How you got votes, I don't even know. Nobody likes you. Nobody likes them. Here's Representative Judy Chu or Chow. How do you say that? I have no fucking clue. She's a demo rat from California. Yay! Fuck! Democrats in California. I mean, is there anything good in California? Nope. Not at all. Nothing is good in California. Look, I got a super chat. Yeah!
I'm giving to my son with cancer treatments.
He's giving his son
red heart,
with cancer treatments. Oh,
United
shit.
States.
Sorry. Prayers. Oh! Does that guy have, like, ink smeared on his face? Like, what the fuck? Like, clean your face. Or maybe it's a birthmark. I don't even know. Here's Michael Burgess, a Republican from Texas. He's probably crying about something. Texas this, Texas that, yeah! Welcome. You're, ow, fuck, my back's itching. What the fuck?
Yo, what's up? How you guys doing? Wasn't that intro is fire?
Politics.
You want to listen?
The Democrats
were melting down. They're like QAnon this and blah blah and all these rule changes. I'll stick a finger in my bum. Like that's what they were saying.
At the
like
expense
seriously,
of the many is over. This new majority today begins.
So this guy's a Republican from Texas.
Make this Congress more transparent, more accountable,
Yeah.
and more accessible to the public and the members that serve the institution.
He's still lying, just
This
so you know.
majority will implement voting procedures on the floor so that recorded votes can be conducted in a straightforward manner.
You know what I realized today? I'm unrepresented. Like, there's probably going to be a shirt and sweatshirt and clothing line called Unrepresented. Because I realized today when I was driving here to do this show after eating chimichangas? I don't know what the fuck they were. I think that's my wife's version of what a chimichanga is supposed to be. I think it's a chimichanga. Is a chimichanga like a tiny little narrow burrito that's baked? Enchilada? No, I don't know. Chimichanga, I think. I don't know. They were good. But I was driving back after dinner, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, for a long time I've maintained I'm not a Republican. I can't be a Republican anymore. because the people that represent our party are completely batshit crazy. You know what I mean? Just being honest. So what am I? I'm certainly not a Democrat because they are all loony. So, that's it. I'm unrepresented. I'm unrepresented in Congress because the independents are like Bernie Sanders. You know, who's the other one? The Cinema. Didn't she just change? She's now independent as well? Nah. They're still Democrats. So who am I? I guess I'm just an independent. You want to listen to a Demo-rat?
With inflation or mention inflation. I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Gett.
Gentlelady from Colorado is recognized.
Mr. Get out of here.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Speaker, if there was any overriding issue of clarity in the last election, it's that Americans feel strongly that they should have the freedom
That you need to
make
get
their own
out of here.
decisions, not politicians.
Get it? Her name is
Apparently,
DeGette.
House
She needs to
Republicans
get
weren't listening
lost.
because just 2 months after a record number of
Shut up.
Americans voted to vehemently oppose the GOP's efforts to criminalize abortion care in this country, we have today a set of rules that will make their extreme agenda a reality. These rules will pave the way for the immediate passage of
Someone in the chat said, am I allowed to say FJB? Yeah, only if you buy a hoodie and get your free mug. That's the only way you can do it.
Agenda
To be
is
honest.
anti-choice.
Scientifically proven to be
This is not
true.
what the people want of America. 61% of this
Renee
country
said you're an
strongly
American.
support
Damn
a woman's
right I
right
am.
to abortion care.
But I'm unrepresented
I urge all
in
of my
Congress.
colleagues to stand up to this
In Washington.
extremism and stand up for the people who we were elected to serve. Vote no on
Who's
the
that?
previous question to bring up
The pot-smoking hippies from California.
Let's listen to our constituents.
Shannon
I
got her
yield back.
coffee order.
Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 3 minutes to the distinguished lady from Minnesota, my colleague on the Rules Committee, Ms. Fischbach.
Does he have a birthmark or something on his face? Does anyone know? Because I don't want to make fun of it if like it's an ink smear, because that's what I think it is. But maybe it's a birthmark or a scar or something.
And for
Let me know.
experiences we've had on rules the last year. Mr. Speaker,
Why is
for
the Texas guy
far
lying?
too
I don't know. I
long,
wasn't listening to what he
Democrats have
said.
run
Everybody, every single politician that's up here right now is
the
lying.
people's house.
Everything they say. I don't care how
Weaponizing our
conservative
rules to
they are.
insulate themselves and
They're all
protect
lying.
their allies and the Biden administration from proper oversight. That ends today. I want to thank the chairman, Speaker McCarthy.
She wants to
and
put the
others
fish back.
for spending countless hours
Put the fish back in the lakes. Get it? Because her name's Fishback. Oh, that's a knee slapper there, ain't it, boys? We got to put the fish back in the lakes. Oh, I see the reason why they did like $7 million for salmon. Is it because of Fishback, a Republican from Minnesota?
This package finally ends the ludicrous pandemic procedures that have done lasting, if not permanent, damage to this institution.
Yeedy said, nor are we primates that play with
Eye
poo.
to eye.
Speak for yourself, Yeedy.
Where the other is coming from. Remote proceedings and a lockdown cap.
Dad jokes coming out strong today. Hell yeah.
To a computer screen.
To a computer
And the
screen.
work product has
Pompous
security.
banana.
It is long
Banana.
past
See, pompous banana is what I called her.
work. Second,
censored
the rules
myself.
package finally creates a more transparent
What's wrong with
process
hippies?
by
Sex,
which
love, and rock and roll.
As
Casey
that
said,
chairman
what's wrong with
referenced,
hippies? I can answer you.
a
They
lousy
stink like
process
patchouli.
leads to
Yeah.
bad legislation.
That's it. I just don't like
Today,
patchouli.
through a
So therefore, I don't like
mandatory
hippies.
72-hour rule, we allow more
Yep.
thoughtful and deliberate
that easy.
consideration that will improve.
Someone said, I did a live search for Senate and I'm unable to find it. What is this link? It's you can't find it. You know why? Because this isn't a Senate hearing. This is the fucking United States House of Representatives.
Now our constituents are saddled with
God, get back down to your van down by the river.
levels in a generation.
Yeah. It's not a Senate hearing, it's a House hearing.
Once again, ensure the federal budget operates like
You know what I'm
it
saying?
has, requiring offsets.
You guys wanna listen to her?
additional
Okay.
Spending, eliminating budget gimmicks, and requiring inflationary analysis of the bills we consider. I am proud to stand by my friend and colleague from Oklahoma in support of this
Okay,
package,
yeah.
and I urge members.
Minnesota's not even by the ocean. Why does she want to put all the fish back?
From Massachusetts.
Like,
Mr. Speaker, let me just remind my friends that over 1 million people, 1 million Americans died of COVID, including a member-elect who was supposed to be sworn in the last Congress. And these remote procedures undoubtedly saved lives of members and staff here in this chamber. So please, let's not diminish what the point of all that was about. I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Washington, Ms. Jayapal.
Gentleman from Washington is recognized for 1 minute.
Let's listen to
Thank
this.
you, Mr. Speaker.
Fucking
After a
nutbag.
week of chaos, we now have a rules package for MAGA extremists
Here we
attacking
go.
our freedoms and every major responsibility of this body, from paying America's bills to funding our government. This package criminalizes abortion by advancing bills that attack access and health care without a single hearing or markup, undermining women's economic freedom and bodily autonomy. Mr. Speaker, as one of the 1 in 4 women across this country who have had an abortion, I join those in both parties
Baby killer.
and the majority of this country who are saying not on our watch. This package also reinstates a cut-go policy that gives wealthy corporations more tax cuts and strips the right
She's
for
going to
congressional
hell.
workers to unionize.
Just in case
And it
anyone
eliminates
didn't
our
know
wins
that.
to strengthen witness
Just to be
disclosure
honest.
requirements for conflicts of interest
Yes, and that's
exempt
my belief.
climate change and pandemic relief from senseless pay-go rules. Democrats delivered for the people. Republicans now want a package that works for the wealthiest few. Vote no.
Oklahoma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend from Virginia, Mr. Griffith, who had so much to do with some of the extraordinary changes in this rule package. I yield to the gentleman.
Gentleman from West Virginia is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I come to talk today about getting back to the basics. This place has, in fact, been broken, and a number of the rules that we worked on were to bring authority back and bring us back to the principles of Jefferson's parliamentary practice and procedure, his manual on that. So I would say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that we should look at that document for what its principles stand for. And what it stands for is, and it says right in the preamble, for some of the most familiar, Jefferson writes, for some of the most familiar and experienced members.
I'm making that
referencing their members of
unrepresented
Parliament,
hoodie right
because that's
now.
what he based it upon.
Like straight
that nothing
up.
tended more to throw power
Hell
into the hands of
yeah.
administration and those who acted with the majority in the House of Commons than neglect or departure from rules of proceedings, that these forms, as instituted by our ancestors, operate as a check and control on the actions of the majority, and they were in many instances a shelter and protection to the minority against the attempts of power. So when I go out there, Mr. Speaker, and ask that we change these rules to make sure that we have rules that help protect all members, including the minority members, you can imagine my surprise and shock today when I hear that they are opposed to rules that do some very basic things that the American people are going to be shocked that we don't already do, such as a single purpose, that you cannot introduce a bill that doesn't have a single purpose or theme to that bill. And that can be complicated, but it has to have an overarching theme, something that this bill is attempting to do right from the get-go, the sole purpose rule. And then there's the germaneness and coming up with a stricter germaneness interpretation, Mr. Speaker.
You're a germane.
And as we know, that also helps so that you don't end up happening what we had happen last summer, where somebody introduces a bill to mint a commemorative coin and it turns into the Inflation Reduction Act. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of pages came out of a one-paragraph bill.
That's true.
No,
Science.
that's wrong. And this allows us, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, this allows us more power to say no on the floor by the individual members.
Yield the gentleman an additional 30 seconds.
Gentleman is recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
I appreciate the gentleman yielding me that additional time. As you can tell, I get fired up about these issues. But the bottom line is this rules package is the best rules package of either party in a number of years, because instead of worrying about what might happen next week, this rules package worries about the future of the United States Congress. And it's a good package, and I wholeheartedly support it and yield back.
He hoes.
Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Owens. You know
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California.
He's a hoe.
Gentlelady from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you for yielding. Mr. Speaker, after 4 days and 15 rounds of the new Republican majority has finally chosen a speaker. And their first order of business is to trample on the hopes of the people that elected them. The rules package that we see before us contains no less than 3 bills that strip people in this country of their reproductive freedom. These bills are a slap in the face to voters who proved time and time again at the polls last year that they believe in reproductive freedom and abortion access. From Kentucky to Kansas to my home state of California, our constituents...
Someone said he's bragging about his package. And she's complaining because she doesn't have a package.
Lies with them, not with you, not with me, not with any
Science.
elected official. This rules
Or
package is
biology.
meant to help this body
You know,
govern,
man.
not restrict the personal
Define
autonomy
a
of millions.
woman.
As one who has had an abortion, I know how horrific.
Oh my God,
this
all these
rule
people are
package
going to
is.
hell.
It's our bodies, it's our choices. Mr. Speaker, this dysfunction and hypocrisy is shameful, and the people deserve better.
I want to go. I really want to go back to the day where people didn't admit to killing babies. Like, I would love to go back to the day where that was like frowned upon. Because there was a time where people didn't go out and talk about that. Where they didn't talk about. That's like me walking into a convenience store and killing someone and then bragging about it. And I can't be touched. It's insane.
This rules package. And I get it. It makes for a good story, but it just isn't so. I rise today, Mr. Speaker, with a more accurate assessment. This rules package is actually about Republican unity. This package, except for one single change, is the same rules package that was released 2 weekends ago. This is the same rules package, except for one single change, that the Republican conference had widespread agreement on weeks ago. Now, there are a tremendous number of conservative wins here. At least 72 hours for members and the public to review legislation before we vote on it, requiring every bill to deal with
Unrepresented hoodie is available in the store. Go get it
rid of
now.
proxy voting.
Get it
Bring
now.
back the
Add a
home
mug to your
rule, which will allow
cart. The
this
mug is
body to
free.
target
I'm going to put an
specific
unrepresented mug
spending
up in a
line
second.
items. And then the return of cut-go, so that spending increases have to be offset by spending reductions. Every single one of these big conservative wins, Mr. Speaker, and many more like them, were supported by the Republican conference long before the excitement of last week. Today's rules package is actually proof of Republican unity. And it is proof that we are committed to increased accountability, transparency,
They're all full of shit. Like, let's be honest.
fiscal responsibility
Democrats
for
or
this
Republicans,
chamber
they're all full of shit.
and for our country.
Garbage.
And I yield back.
Garbage face. That's what they are.
Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Big, dirty sacks of
The gentleman's
shit.
taking credit
Garbage.
for the 72-hour rule, which we
shish kebab.
created in our rules package, but thank you very much. I now yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from
We
Massachusetts,
created
the
the
Democratic
rule.
whip, Ms. Clark.
Gentlelady from Massachusetts is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank the gentleman from Massachusetts for yielding. When Roe v. Wade was overturned, the impact on Americans was swift and devastating. Women were denied health care. Doctors were threatened with criminal charges. Hospitals were forced to put their liability over patients' lives. And as the GOP doubled down on its plan for a national abortion ban, the American people saw it for what it was: anti-woman, anti-choice, anti-family, and anti-freedom. Kansas, California, Kentucky, Michigan, Montana, Vermont. Voters across the country rejected this extremism. And with this anti-freedom agenda exposed, some of my Republican colleagues started to scrub their websites, roll back their rhetoric, and dodge questions on abortion. But here we are again in this rules package. Within days of taking over the House majority, Republicans are pushing legislation to limit women's rights. So let's see where you truly stand. Today, House Democrats offer the Women's Health Protection Act to make abortion access a federal right, no matter your zip code or your income. Do my colleagues across the aisle believe that families, in consultation with their doctors, with their faith, with their life circumstances, should decide when to have children? Or do my colleagues think that is a decision for Republican politicians? Vote to make Roe v. Wade.
All right, so here's what's included. Okay, there's a motion to vacate. McCarthy agreed to restore the motion to vacate, allowing any one member to call a vote to remove him. More seats for the Freedom Caucus members. House Freedom Caucus members will receive 3 of the 9 seats on the powerful House Rules Committee, which has a big say in whether bills and amendments are brought to the floor. More seats for, I've already said that. End of the omnibus, McCarthy agreed to vote separately on spending bills such as agriculture and defense bills instead of having them bundled in a massive omnibus like the $1.7 trillion bill that just passed in December. Lower spending, the deal caps spending at the levels from 2 years. The deal will cap spending at the levels from 2 years ago, which means cuts to most programs. Investigating the investigators, McCarthy agreed to a judiciary subcommittee that will focus on the weaponization of the federal government, investigating the FBI and Department of Justice raid at former President Donald Trump's Florida Mar-a-Lago estate and related DOJ probe into his handling of classified material. Fewer contested primaries. McCarthy agreed to keeping his congressional leadership PAC money out of races against conservative members in safe districts, which is just stupid. They shouldn't be putting money there anyway. Restoring the Holman Rule. The Holman Rule will be reinstated, which will allow amendments to reduce lawmakers' salaries, fire federal employees, and cut programs. And more time for review. The concessions included a 72-hour review period to give House members more time to review bills before they hit the floor. So I'm not seeing anything in here which specifies. Let me see if this shows what the rules are. See? And I can't find it there either. Nope. So it's not even going to show what the bill is. See, it won't even let me. Wow, that's bullshit. What are they hiding? Huh? What are you hiding, McAfee? So they won't even show the rules. Let's listen.
We could repurpose those agents to the southern border.
Yeah.
Or we could repurpose them and let them build the Keystone XL pipeline. You know what?
Yeah.
There was about estimated 61,000 lost jobs. Keystone XL pipeline when Biden administration canceled that project. But yet we turn around and government hires 87,000 new IRS agents to go after your constituents and mine. I mentioned earlier the number. Look it up. I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman from Massachusetts.
I, my friend, that the first bill you're doing is going to add $114 billion to the deficit. Enough.
What the fuck are the bills?
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California, the chairman of the Democratic Caucus, Mr. Aguilar.
Oh, look at this shit.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentleman from Massachusetts. I rise today in opposition to the rules package, which was written behind closed doors. What we're voting on this evening is nothing short of complete surrender to the demands of the most extreme Republicans on the other side of the aisle.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than taking this opportunity
call
to bring
terrorists
us
or something,
together,
right? That's what
the
they're trying to
adoption
say.
of this rules package sets us on a path toward division and default. The extremists plan to use these rules to hold the economy hostage and to enact more cuts to Social Security and Medicare.
Do I sound like a baby?
Last week, our nation saw the lowest unemployment in 50 years, a testament to the leadership of President Biden and House Democrats.
No. We have low unemployment because people are not looking for jobs. That's why. That's why we have record number of jobs available. That's why you can get $25 an hour to go work in a fucking warehouse. People aren't looking for jobs anymore. People are content. They can make a living at home, not doing shit.
For 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support of HRES 5, adopting the rules for the 118th Congress. First, this rules package is an incredible win, not just for conservatives, but for all Americans. Americans deserve a House of Representatives that serves the people, not a political or personal agenda. For decades, we've heard a series of questions, things like, why can't we simply pass bills that address a single issue? Why do we have to Christmas tree these bills? Why isn't there enough time to read the bills? Heck, why don't members have to show up to work to get paid? I hear that all the time. And that, among other things, is what we have addressed in this rules package. And to be sure folks back home understand, this rules package is the document that dictates how we, as members, conduct business up here, and that is why it is so important to get this right. This is the most conservative and transparent rules package in recent history, and the thanks goes to the Republican conference at large for working on this and approving this and debating these proposals on 3 separate occasions since November.
Bullshit.
Here's a sampling of just what's in this common sense package. First, every single member of this body will have at least 72 hours to review each bill. Second, members will now be forced to vote in person rather than via proxy. Personally, I have never voted proxy, and for me, it's pretty simple. If you collect a paycheck, you should show up. After nearly 3 years of abusing this historic voting change, we are finally putting an end to proxy voting. If my husband, as a first responder, along with thousands of other first responders across this country, showed up every single shift at the height of COVID without complaint, members of Congress should be able to do the same. Now, on November 29th, I testified before the Rules Committee that single-issue bills are one of the single most important things we can do to restore trust in this institution. I am proud to report that this package includes this new requirement, and that is that all members certify their bills introduced in the House address a single issue. A huge thanks goes to my friend and colleague from Virginia, Representative Morgan Griffith, for his work on this issue. Additionally, this rules package establishes a brand new
my
select
stream's
committee
not
that will be
available
tasked
from
to
January
investigate
6th.
the
They
weaponization
nuked it.
of the federal government. No longer will the DOJ be allowed to target parents who show up for their kids. No longer.
All right, so I'll explain what this is. So now it's like the first working day of this new Congress, right? Kevin McCarthy, he's got the reins. He didn't show up, by the way. But Kevin McCarthy is in charge now, and they're introducing their rules package. They're having an hour of debate on this rule package. The Democrats are being like, ah! And the Republicans are being like, talking point, talking point, talking point. And that's it. Okay, now you're caught up. So the rules package, yeah, it's full of good shit, right? None of that shit matters. The only way this Congress would have changed at all is if Kevin McCarthy was not Speaker of the House. Because Kevin McCarthy is Speaker of the House, it's all done. I am unrepresented in Washington. How many of you are unrepresented in Washington? If you're unrepresented in Washington, I think we should all wear unrepresented hoodies, which we have on puretruthcoffee.com. Under the hoodie section, go there now.
Maybe
now!
Share with us the secret 3-page.
Get a free mug, too. There's unrepresented mugs there as well.
So much for transparency. I guess she's not going to share that with us. But in any event, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from the District of Columbia, Ms. Holmes Norton.
Gentlelady from the District of Columbia is recognized for 1 minute.
These rules are a gratuitous attack on already limited rights of D.C. residents.
You are a gratuitous attack, Mrs. Eleanor Holmes Norton from the District of Columbia, not even a fucking state.
Local self-government. To add insult to injury, these rules take away floor privilege of the D.C. mayor. The rules continue to grant governors and 16 other categories of people, including foreign ministers, floor privileges. Not only does D.C.'s
you guys got
mayor
that?
operate
You understand what she's saying?
like state governors, including managing a jurisdiction that has both a budget and population larger than those of several states, but Congress has undemocratic plenary authority over D.C. and regularly uses its authority to legislate on local matters. While D.C. deserves statehood, if any non-member of Congress deserves the needs floor privileges,
That's what Jada Pinkett Smith is going to look like in like 20 years.
Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 4 minutes to my very good friend, distinguished gentleman from Texas, Mr. Roy.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized
Also
for 4
a
minutes.
sellout, by the way. Chip Roy.
Speaker.
Sellout.
And
Voted for
I
McCarthy.
thank my friend from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole. And I'm delighted to be down here on the floor of the House of Representatives in a Republican majority. And I'm delighted to be talking about a rules package crafted by that Republican majority and that reflects what I think is a fundamental transformation of this House to ensure that the people can be represented by their representatives. That's the point. There's a reason that I've had great conversations with some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle about why having 72 hours to read a bill, or why having a bill that isn't littered with Christmas tree additional subjects rather than single subjects, as my friend from Virginia, Mr. Griffith, articulated so well, or whether having germane amendments and being able to open up the floor by virtue of changing the rules or restoring the Holman rules so we can have an impact on agencies that are out of control and not responding to the people's house. There's a reason why those rules are so fundamentally important. To restore this body, to restore the people's house. That's why we're here. Everybody keeps running around in classic swamp speak talking about secret deals, secret addendums. What we're talking about is how people come to an agreement in this town to ensure that we're going to carry out what we said we're going to do. The rules package is on full display. The rules package has been on full display and publicly available since Friday, to the best of my knowledge, or earlier last week. The text of that rules package has been something we could look at. And my friends are right. A good chunk of that text was the agreement reached a while back, a couple of weeks ago, a week or two ago. with one significant change: the single-person motion to vacate, which is in the spirit of that which goes all the way back to Jefferson. In fact, we are currently now operating not under any rules. That's why we're having a debate. We're about to debate on adopting the rules. I could walk down right there into the well and file a motion to vacate, single person, right now, because that's the precedent. That's what we're operating under, because that goes back to Jefferson. The whole point here is trying to ensure that we're continuing the great history of the People's House. Yes, we have had conversations and agreements, as individuals are supposed to do, looking each other in the eye and saying, we're going to bring balanced budgets to the floor of the House. You bet that we've got agreements that we're going to do that. You bet that we've had agreements that we're going to bring the Texas border plan to make sure we secure the border, rather than perpetuating the fraud that the President of the United States continues to perpetuate, endangering the American people. You bet that we're bringing forward a promise to have legislation that will set term limits, because the American people are tired of a House that doesn't represent them. You bet that we've got a...
You know what? This is fucking boring. Who wants to win a TV? Who wants to win a TV? Go buy a hoodie, get your free mug. I'll choose one of you guys at the end of today's show, and you'll win a TV today, at live on the air. Okay?
That a church
I'll put the link again in the chat.
Truly moving back to a Jefferson
thank you for that super chat, by the way.
Mr. Jordan and the Judiciary Committee to target the weaponization of government against the American people. You bet that those agreements were reached. I will not back away from that or shy away from it. But this rules package is a rules package that reflects this body, the entirety of the Republican Party, on making sure that we restore the People's House. And we are united to do that. We are coming out of last week strong, united to make sure that we stand up for the American people. And I encourage everybody to vote for this rules package, and I yield back.
Members are advised and reminded not to engage in personalities toward the president. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
I didn't hear.
Thank you, and I want to thank the gentleman again for mentioning the 72-hour rule, which has been mentioned many times, but I wrote it, and I want to thank you for keeping it. But when I hear people talk about balanced budgets, give me a break. The first bill that you are bringing to the floor, according to CBO, adds $114 billion to the debt. So we don't need any lectures from anybody on that side about balancing the budget. Give me a break. And I would like to, maybe the gentleman can again share with us the secret addendum that apparently was negotiated behind closed doors, so we actually know what agreements were made. I mean, 4 days and 15 votes, and there's only one change in the rules package, going from 5 to be able to vacate the chair to 1. Well, there's a lot more to it. We all know that, but that's a big secret. So much for transparency. At this point, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Torres.
Gentleman from New York is recognized for 1 minute.
The so-called rules package proposed by House Republicans would perpetuate the same disorder, division, and dysfunction that nearly devoured the Republican nominee for Speaker. A single member...
Whatever, Richie Torres. Yo, you want to win a TV so you can watch me on the big screen? All you got to do is go over to the link that's in the chat, Pure Truth Coffee. Pick out a hoodie you like, add that sucker to your cart. Don't forget to go into the mugs, add a mug, because that shit's free. That's how we roll up in here. And then once you check out, you're good to go. And you can finance that. So you can buy multiple hoodies and all that stuff too and finance it. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the show, we're going to give away a TV. Depending on how many orders we have, it may be a big TV or it may be, the smallest will be 32-inch smart TV. I only give away smart TVs.
Republicans to zero out funding for a criminal investigation into Donald Trump. The new rules would defund the Office of Congressional Ethics. The new rules would enable a member being investigated by the FBI to investigate the investigators investigating him. Mr. Speaker, so much for draining the swamp. I yield back.
McCarthy's not there because he's a bum.
90 seconds.
He's
my good friend,
sitting in his office.
member from Georgia, Mr. Clyde.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you. I thank the gentleman for yielding. Last week, I was part of the 20 conservative members who fought for significant institutional change in order to restore the people's voice in the people's House. Of the many victories we secured for the American people, the Thomas Jefferson motion to vacate the chair is the most important to me, as it holds the Speaker accountable to the people. This Jeffersonian motion stood strong for more than 200 years before then Speaker Pelosi removed it in 2018, consolidating power in the hands of a select few in leadership. By restoring this historic rule, every solitary member has the authority to hold the Speaker accountable for following all of the rules, including passing single-subject bills, allowing members at least 72 hours to read the legislation before voting on it, and
Joe Demet said they're raising the deficit with all the water damage from their tears.
all the way down to the individual job description. I thank my Republican colleagues and Speaker McCarthy for working in good faith to produce and pass a rules package that ensures this body is working for the people and not for itself. And I encourage every member to vote for it. Fixing a broken Washington, D.C. is a major win for every citizen. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman from Massachusetts.
I don't know who that congressman is that's presiding over it.
Mr. Neal.
Gentleman from Massachusetts is
I thank the
recognized
gentleman.
for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I rise in strong opposition to this legislation. It's the so-called rules package. I can't wait for that term limits vote here. When you ask members on the Republican side who have been here for 20 or 30 years, then to codify their votes and say that you can only be here for 12, try explaining that one back home when you've got a 4-seat majority. This is an extreme proposal that's in front of us. It will eventually, if they follow the logic to its manifestation.
I got to give it to him right there. He's right. Because the Republicans are not going to vote for term limits. They are not. Kevin McCarthy's been there for 14 years. They're not. They're not going to vote for term limits unless it's like not retroactive. If it starts from day one, maybe. But they're not going to. They're not good, and that's why we need to get for any politician that we go, they have to sign a pledge. That's the only way to enforce that because they will never vote on that. He's 100% correct on that.
For the country to witness
Republicans aren't
going
to do it, just like Democrats won't.
This is part of a rules package that is being foisted upon the American people by a small minority within the Republican Party, and we ought to turn it down.
You know what we got to turn down? Well, what we don't need to turn down, the sales, okay? Our sales. Go to puretruthcoffee.com right now. Get this. You buy a hoodie. Listen to this. This is fucking incredible. Okay, I don't care. I've zoomed in so you guys can see how incredible this is. Go to puretruthcoffee.com. Pick out one of our sick hoodies. We got like 40 of them in there, including the new one that I just put up, unrepresented, right? So you buy a hoodie, then you go over to the mug section. You add a mug to your cart. Once you have a hoodie in there, you look at the mug and you're like, holy shit, the mug is free. That's because we love you. And then place your order. Add like 7 more hoodies, 7 more mugs, buy a lot. You know what I mean? And then here's the best part. I'm going to pick one random person at the end of the show today that'll win a TV. Straight up. You'll just win a TV. You win a TV. And there is no purchase necessary because I'm just randomly choosing one. It's not a giveaway. Fuck off, IRS. And plus the TV's under $100 and I already checked with the state of Vermont or Virginia. I could do it. No purchase is necessary for the TV, if you guys know. The only way you have to enter is you got to send a self-addressed stamped envelope to, with a return address stamped envelope to 121 North Main Street, Woodstock, Virginia, 22664. Okay, you got that? There, full disclaimer. But the link is in the chat. Buy a hoodie. Buy also our Patriotic as F mugs, our Patriotic as F bundles are incredible. Okay, 2 t-shirts, a book. A tumbler came out awesome. So a tumbler's coming in it, a bunch of patches. These are different kind of patches. They're funny as shit. Sticker packs, a hat is coming in them. These are, and the Fiery But Peaceful Coffee Blend. These are the best ones ever. So get your orders in for those too. The Patriotic as F bundles. You can find that under the bundles tab on the website. Anyway, let's get back to this shit show. Stephen Horsefoot is speaking. His name is not Horsefoot, it's Horsefoot, or Horseford, but I'm writing Horsefoot from now. You're always going to be known as Horsefoot because you look like a horse's foot. Got him. What did I do?
There's a persistent problem with the wealthiest Americans evading taxes or hiding their money in secret offshore bank accounts in order to avoid paying their tax obligations. In fact, according to a new Syracuse University analysis, low-income wage earners were audited 5.5 times more than the people in every other tax bracket in 2022. Democrats put people over politics and provided the resources and funding that the IRS needs to go after the super rich They're
going after small
people. It is not fair that taxpayers with lower incomes are more likely to be audited than high-income taxpayers. And adding additional insult, their first bill adds more than $100 billion to the deficit over the next 10 years. What does that say about reducing our deficit? Stop this hypocritical.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Oklahoma.
It's hypocritical, fucker. Hey, guess what? Guess what? He's they added $100 billion in deficit in 10 years. Motherfucker, just literally a month ago, you sent $40 billion more to Ukraine, totaling $100 billion within 7 or 8 months to Ukraine. That's not our deficit for years. That's literally what you guys, all of these politicians, Republicans and Democrats, have signed off sending that same amount to fight someone else's war.
15-minute vote.
That objection.
With that, Mr. Speaker, I reserve my time.
Gentleman's time is reserved. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, following the vote on the previous question, Representative DeLauro will offer a motion to commit. I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Connecticut to discuss that proposal.
Oh, look at this.
The lady from Connecticut is recognized for 1 minute.
When we conclude this rules debate, I will offer a motion to commit to add the expanded child tax credit. In the face of the Republican majority's draconian agenda, we want to provide a tax cut, yes, to children and to families to make ends meet. The child tax credit is the most effective tool we have in the fight against rising costs, an antidote to inflation. It is about financial stability for families. Nothing in this rules package helps American families.
Bro, if this was black and white, and I wish I could do it, if this was in black and white, she would look like a character for a horror movie, like a 1920s horror movie where you got like that zombie person walking to you. That's what she would look like if it's in black and white. In color, it's just frightening. I'm worried that it's going to break my computer screen.
Pay for child
no
care.
joke, bro.
It reached more than 61 million children, lifted 4 million
I'm gonna get a wig and do my hair like
26%
that. What do you guys
decline
think?
In hunger
If I
and
sell
families with
if I
children.
sell 100 hoodies today, I'll do a whole show dressed as her.
Program that has had such a
If
profound
I do 100
impact in
hoodies
such
today, I'll do a
short
whole
amount
show
of
dressed
time.
just like
Do the
her.
right thing. Vote yes on the motion to commit. I yield back.
As long as she's wearing pants, because I'm not putting on a damn
I reserve
dress.
my time.
He reserves his time. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Washington, Ms. Del Bene.
Gentlelady from Washington is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Later this evening, my colleague and friend, Congresswoman
Oh God, she looks like, who is that lady from that? You know the show where it's Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. There you go.
118th Congress on the right foot. Instead
An
of focusing
ugly-ass
on
Drew
an
Barrymore.
extremist agenda, we can advance a proven solution to an issue that impacts every community in our country: childhood poverty. The U.S.
Doesn't she
shamefully
look
has
like
one of the highest
an
rates
ugly
of
Drew
childhood
Barrymore?
poverty in the developed world. We have a solution that we know works: the expanded child tax credit that delivered up to $300 per child each month to over 40 million families. These resources help parents pay for food, rent, gas, and other essentials. We must bring back the expanded child tax credit and deliver for children and families. I urge my colleagues to vote yes on this motion to commit. Reducing childhood poverty should be a bipartisan effort. I yield back.
Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I continue to reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, again, let me just ask, will anybody on the other side just share with us the secret 3-page addendum that Speaker McCarthy negotiated with the Freedom Caucus so we can know what else was decided on, given away? I guess not. I yield 1 minute to the gentleman.
I am curious about that. Why isn't that public?
Recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. I rise in opposition to the rule. The rules package is anti-electoral.
Matter of fact, and because I feel like it's a day of giving today. You know what I'm saying? So today, we're not just doing the hoodies. Buy anything from the store. I mean, I prefer the hoodie, but buy anything from the store. No coffee, please, because I have to do my stock of coffee. But buy anything else in our store, and you'll be entered for a chance to win a TV today.
Of tax audits, because they make
Hell
easy
yeah.
targets. Republicans have begun this Congress with chaos and now plan to push extreme policies that do nothing to help Latinos in this country. I urge my colleagues to vote against this rule. I yield back the
Gentleman
balance
from
of my time.
Oklahoma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to my good friend, the distinguished gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Hill.
Gentleman from Arkansas is recognized for 1 minute. Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my friend from Oklahoma, and certainly my colleague from Massachusetts knows my deep affection for him. But since I've walked in the House floor tonight, I keep hearing this reference to this rules package that somehow it's not posted on our website, and we're debating something else called an addendum to the rules package. So I just wanted to come to the House floor as someone who worked quite passionately last week with, on the behalf of our new Speaker, working on an agreement with all my colleagues so that we are unified in the House Republican Conference, that there is no addendum to this package, Mr. Speaker. There's no 3-page addendum. There's no extra stuff. Everything in the House rules package is posted on the House website. We made one addition as a conference, and that was the change in the vacate the chair motion. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to be clear in the congressional record and on those watching on C-SPAN and my colleagues, there's not a 3-page addendum to the rules package. I greatly respect my good friend from Massachusetts, my friend from Oklahoma, and I yield back. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
So, Mr. Speaker, I have great respect for my friend, but really, I mean, come on. What were the last 4 days about? Again, days and days and 15 roll call votes, and the reporting by multiple sources tell us that there is this side agreement with the House Freedom Caucus.
Look at the nerd behind him.
Controversial concessions. He's
trying to say something to him.
I know it exists. It'll come out sooner or later, but I think, everybody's talking about transparency and openness. It would be nice if there was a little bit more transparency and openness from the other side. At that, Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee.
I thank the gentleman. Thank the Speaker. I rise in opposition to the rules and the rules package. In particular, I support the Women's Health Protection Act, so women seeking reproductive rights will not be hunted down by bounty hunters. And as well, I am opposed to
why do they call them reproductive rights? Guys, it's not reproductive rights when you're killing a baby. It's literally the opposite of that. It's literally the opposite of reproductive rights. You are killing a baby. Stop. People have to stop saying it's reproductive rights. It's not. It's, what? Government sanctioned murder? Damn, bro.
I'm glad that the last government, the last Congress, indicated that when 1 million Americans died for continuity of government, we had proxy voting. They wanted to save lives. I oppose the underlying rules and the rules package. I ask my colleagues to join me in voting no. I yield back.
Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I reserve my time.
Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
So, Mr. Speaker, let me again continue what I was
beginning. Look at the nerd behind him.
It's at least one GOP office apparently has the much fabled 3-page House Rules Addendum. Quote, "We're taking a look at it. We're just going through it," end quote, says Rep. Ken Calvert, a steering committee member, tells Axios. Asked if members have received a copy, quote, "I don't know if everybody has," end quote. So, again, don't come to the floor and talk about transparency and openness and a new day. This is backroom politics. That's what this is about. Secret deals that no one's going to know anything about until it's too late. I reserve my time.
Bullshit.
Gentleman's time is
backroom
reserved.
Politics.
Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Mr. Speaker.
Hey, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Renee, Lisa, and Kathleen and John for your patronage. So far, you guys have a 1 in 4 chance at winning the TV.
Gentleman from Maryland.
I know, right? Those are pretty good odds. Nobody else is doing it. You have pretty good odds.
The 2 minutes are no longer magic. Mr. Speaker, these rules are largely the rules that we've had for some period of time over the years. But they have important changes. Unfortunately, I view those changes as not facilitating our work, but seeking to impede our work. I think that's unfortunate. They're also designed to target federal employees if members of Congress don't like what they do. There, of course, is a process to do that, but as the leader on the other side did at one point in time, he just cut out the salary for an employee he didn't like or thought was acting improperly. That was not appropriate, and of course that did not prevail. But I regret.
Do we have any Twitch moms? So Mike Mushroom says, my stance is let women kill babies. No one actually cares at all about the babies. You'll still have your birthday and Christmas. You, sir, are dumb. I'm like literally at a loss for words with the level of stupidity sometimes that's exhibited on Twitch. I really, really am. At a loss for words. You dumb shitheads.
That I thought was not in the benefit of this House or the American people. Unfortunately, the process, which is the very first process under which we have considered a piece of business, not necessarily legislation, and that is ironic. But it is what it is. But it will, as such a process does, force us to vote against a piece of organizational rules because we don't agree.
John 360 said, Steve, are you ever going to sell patches individually? Just curious. Yes, actually, starting probably either tomorrow or the next day, we are going to have a patch. It's going to be a bundle of 20 patches. And then you could also buy our 4 patch hats that we have. We sell a bundle of patch hats for $40, and you could buy them both for like $80, and then you get a bunch of patches and a bunch of hats. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I just don't have it up there. I pressed the wrong button.
I think I'm prepared to close as well. Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the remaining time.
Gentleman is recognized for his remaining time, which is 5½ minutes.
Mr. Speaker, the last time House Republicans were in charge, they ended their time in power with a government shutdown. They controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House, and they shut the government down and walked away. Upon taking power once again, they began with a legislative shutdown, a shutdown where a far-right fringe held the incoming Republican leadership hostage and got them to give away everything.
360, Stephen, the tumblers, if you get a hoodie, the tumblers are 50% off. Those are facts.
The rule package is exhibit number 1. The American people sent us here because they want us to put people over politics. Sadly, this rule package puts politics first, empowering the extremists who are only interested in their own power. As I've said again and again, if this new majority wants to work together in good faith, my door is open. But if this is their plan, they've clearly chosen to become a party that embraces election deniers and extremists. And Democrats will not go along to get along. You know, finally, Mr. Speaker, let me say that I've had some harsh words for this rules package. Call it tough love. I care very deeply about this institution, about the work that we do here, and the awesome responsibility of decisions we make. And I'm glad that my friends kept the McGovern rule on the 72-hour, and the McGovern rule that committees have to do hearings and markups before they come to the Rules Committee. We weren't perfect, but overwhelmingly we kept our word. This legislation does a great disservice to the people we represent, and it does not live up to the high standards that we should have for this institution. I believe that calling this House to a higher standard is the right thing to do. But let me be clear that my criticism is reserved for the resolution we are considering and not for the distinguished gentleman from Oklahoma, whom I respect and admire as a person, even when we strongly disagree, as we do today. These rules are a giveaway to the far right, but this Congress need not be. If my Republican colleagues want to get anything done, it is clear that they're going to have to work together with Democrats to get things done. Let's end the extremism and put people over politics to get stuff done. People do not want government shutdowns. People do not want to see us default on our financial obligations. People want us to get stuff done and to keep the lights on. The last 2 elections were a rejection of extremism. My friends predicted an overwhelming...
Well, I take that back. I can do it, but it will say it'll be small, or I could do it across the back. You let me know if you want it across the back with a Pure Truth logo on the front. Matter of fact, I'll make that right now.
You are too extreme. So put the extremism behind you. I urge the Speaker to work with Democrats and not just work with a small fringe group in the Republican conference, but to work in a way to move the people's agenda forward. I urge a no vote on this resolution, a no on the previous question, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back his time. Gentleman from Oklahoma with 90 seconds to close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself the balance of my time. In closing, I want to urge all my colleagues to support this resolution establishing the rules of the 118th Congress. The changes we're proposing today will ensure that the institution is set on a path for success in the new Congress. They will ensure that members return to Washington and do their work here. They will set up an institution to hold the Biden administration accountable, and they will put in place budgetary rules designed to prevent the kind of reckless spending spree Democrats recently engaged in. I urge all members to vote yes on the previous question and yes on the rule. Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time and move the previous question on the resolution.
Question is on ordering the previous question on the resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Anyone opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Previous question is a gentleman from Massachusetts.
Speaker, I ask for the yeas and nays.
Yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. Sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to the order of the House of today, further proceedings on this question are postponed. Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the House stand in recess until approximately 6:30 p.m.
Without objection.
What the shit?
House stands in recess.
That's 10 minutes from now, you lazy shitheads. Just fucking do your jobs. Like, serious, for real. For real. Whatever. They're a bunch of little babies. You know what I'm saying? Yep, so they're adjourned now for the 8 minutes. So, and then they'll come back and they'll talk about nothing. The House is in recess. Look, they even put a placeholder up. The House is in recess until approximately 6:30 p.m. It's 6:21. I just don't get it. If you refresh that page now, the unrepresented zip-up is now available. It's got the Pure Truth logo on the front and unrepresented on the back. Because that's how we roll up in here. Very good chance to win a television today. We've had a couple more orders, so we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 orders. So you have a 1 in 7 chance. Big shout out to Michelle for the big 3 hoodie order. She got 3 hoodies and she got 3 free mugs out of that. So I appreciate you and your patronage. So for anyone that doesn't know, if you go over to our website, puretruthcoffee.com, you pick out a hoodie and then you pick out a mug. The mug is free automatically as long as you got a hoodie in your cart. And then we're also giving away a television. And at this point, it's going to be a 55-inch flat screen smart TV. I'll tell you what, if we sell like 15 more hoodies, that fucker's going to be a bigger TV. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Shit. For anyone that doesn't know, it is a sales drive to get you guys to go and buy more. Because look, you could literally get a TV for $55 plus, you know, a hoodie and all that stuff. By the way, today I was packing up some, not all, because I didn't get my hoodies yet, but I was packing up many of the patriotic as F boxes that were, you know, shipping the first week of January. Now technically it's the second week, but we have everything for them, except I need more ammo cans. I have 3 more, but I have 20 more coming, which should be tomorrow. But these are like literally the best boxes. I literally have joy packing them because for one, you're getting a sick tumbler, you're getting a bag of our new fiery but peaceful coffee, you're getting a bunch of our brand new patches. So these are different patches than we've had before. You're getting a brand new sticker pack that we have. You're getting a one of our tactical hats. So it's a hat, but then you can attach those patches. You see what I did there? Amazing. And you could put those patches on the hat and rock it proudly. And then you're also getting the 2 t-shirts or the hoodie that you order with it. And then we're not done. Seriously, it's amazing. Then we're doing a veteran book, a book authored by a veteran. And I forgot what book it is now because I just got the other ones. So, yeah. And, I forgot the best part about the Patriotic As F bundle. Because you know what the best part is? It comes in a military surplus 50 caliber ammo can. These freaking things are beastie. Like yesterday, I had to lug in this big giant box that had 12 of them. 10? 12. It had 12 of them in it. and it was freaking heavy. It was heavy. But I look strong as hell, you know what I mean? You know, my son has the shits. Yesterday he had the vomit. And then this morning it changed from the mouth to the other one, right? So he had to stay home. My wife stayed with him because I had to get these boxes out. I wasn't going to delay it. And so I had to drive my older boy to school this morning and then pick him up. And when I picked him up, I was like, I'll go and make a deposit at the bank, and then I'm just going to come home. I'll bring him back here, and we'll get a chest workout in, right? So my youngest, because he wants to do a powerlifting competition. He can, when he's 13, he can officially enter into a competition. Because I'm training right now for one that I'm doing in April in Richmond. I think it's in Richmond, or it's in Newport News. But Newport News is pretty bad right now. I probably have to carry. Do a powerlifting competition while carrying. Can I do that? I don't know. That would be cool. But yeah, someone said you need a land of the free zip up. Give me a minute. I'll make it. Yeah, it's pretty good. My son, he's a strong kid, but he's really nervous under the weight of the bar. 45 pounds. So, but yeah, you know, it is what it is. Someone said you don't see unrepresented in the zip-up. Come on, yes you do. Why you doing that? Why you being so crazy? Oh, maybe I have to put it under hoodies. No, it's under hoodies. Here, I'll just put the link in the chat. Wait for it. Here it is. It's in the chat. That's a new one, unrepresented zip-up. And I'm probably going to make more logos because I think that is the best thing, because truly in DC right now, I'm unrepresented by anybody. Even though Ben Klein is a representative for my district, he's a rhino and he just votes conservative. He just votes the conservative ticket across the board. Votes for McCarthy, votes, you know what I mean? So I'm not doing that anymore. I was thinking about it when I was driving back. I was like, I truly am unrepresented in Washington right now. And then I wonder how many people actually feel that. I know a lot of people are all aboard the McCarthy train. I'm never going to be. And in fact, I don't have any faith or any confidence or any respect for any member of Congress. I don't care how cool or how Republican or America First they are, because they turn their backs on all of us on Friday night, Saturday morning. They turned their backs on all of us when they voted for Kevin McCarthy. Because Kevin McCarthy has been leading the Republican Party for 4 years, and he's literally made it so Republicans are not Republicans anymore. They're all rhinos, right? And everyone's like blaming the Freedom Caucus. Oh, the Freedom Caucus this and that. Nah, it doesn't even matter. They should have never voted for him. They should have never voted. That's the truth. John said, did you get my order? I have no idea. I'm not checking right now. Probably. If you got a confirmation, I got your order. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works. It's very high tech. As a reminder as well, if you order a hoodie today, actually you order anything, but order a hoodie, order a hoodie, put a mug in your cart, the mug is free, and then you'll be entered for a chance to win a TV. My brain is going crazy because today was like a big day. You know, I was in here, I was doing all the boxes. It actually made me really happy. I was printing shirts again. I actually had a productive day, even though I've been dealing with my own little bit of a stomach issue today. You know what I mean? I paid about 8 trips to my toilet. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know what? You got to do what you got to do. But I had fun, you know, doing all this stuff, packing these the boxes. Every single one that I packed, I was like, sick. Some of the other issues with these boxes are the sweatshirts, unless it's a small. We only had one small that was sold. But the sweatshirts don't fit in the ammo box with all the other goodies that we're putting in. But luckily, I bought boxes that were too big, and it fits perfect right on top of the box. So there'll be a couple of you that get that. And then I have 4 or 5 more that I'm waiting on the hoodies so I can print them. But I'm going to wait, and if they don't come tomorrow, I'm just going to make it easy. I'm going to ship your boxes to you and ship the hoodies separate, and you'll get 2 tracking numbers tomorrow. Because I'm not going to mess around, and I'm trying to get everything going. Renee said you didn't put a mug in your cart. Please throw it in. I can't do it. Sorry, you got to do it that way. There's no other way for me to do it because we don't keep the mugs in stock. So, unfortunately. Brian said, you're an ass. I've known you since you were in Florida. Even supported you by sending you $50 for a gift pack when you were the first starting out. Now I got to send you an email to remind you of it. I don't know what you're talking about, Brian. I may be an ass. Yeah, sorry, I don't remember every single person. I've got Across social media right now, how many? I got 500 on social media. And then how many do I have on Rumble? 70. So about 570. So Brian, excuse me if you're named Brian, a very common name. There's probably like 17 other people in the chat right now named Brian. Sorry, I don't remember your name. Silver Wolf said Master Grifter. I love it when people come in here and say grifting because they don't understand what grifting means. So it's really funny when people say that, right? Because grifting would be like saying that you're doing something that you're not, which is not at all what's going on. In fact, it's like the opposite, but whatever. I love people. Someone said that mug is fresh. Hell yeah. The Christmas boxes did come with mugs. However, there were 21 of you that I ran out of mugs. Your mugs will be going out and all the extra stuff that we're putting in with those probably either Friday or Monday, whenever I get them. So that's why you'll see if you go to your order, it actually says mug there because I haven't sent the mugs yet. And I meant to send them already, but I wanted to get something cool. And they're not going to be mugs. I think I'm going to do the same tumblers because I really like these tumblers that I got. So I think I'm going to send you guys tumblers and sticker packs and the new patch and maybe a hat too to make up for the Christmas ones. But there's only 21 of you out of a couple of hundred. So, but yep.
The House will be in order.
Now the House is back. You ready?
Proceedings will resume on questions previously postponed. Votes will be taken in the following order. Ordering the previous question on House Resolution 5. Motion to commit House Resolution 5 if offered.
The tumblers are dope. You want to see them? I'll show you. Hold on.
If offered. The first electronic vote will be conducted as a 15-minute vote. Pursuant to the order of the House today, remaining electronic votes will be conducted as 5-minute votes. Pursuant to the order of the House of today, the unfinished business is the vote on ordering the previous question on House Resolution 5, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Resolution 5, resolution adopting the rules of the House of Representatives for the 118th Congress and for other purposes.
They're dope.
Question is on ordering the previous question on the resolution. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 15-minute vote.
So now they're voting on the, I think they're voting to vote for the rules. Shit, where did I just put the thing? All right, for all the people that are saying you pick my tumbler, that's not how it works. You got to follow simple instructions. When you place your order with the hoodie, you got to add your tumbler into the cart. We've got a shit ton of tumblers you could choose from, or we have a shit ton of mugs for you to choose from. The tumblers are only 50% off because they're way more expensive, but the mugs are free. But you have to do that. I can't do it. We don't keep any of it in stock here. The only thing we keep in stock are all the shirts that I print for the Patriotic As F bundles, any special shirt packs that we do or anything like that. That's what I do in-house. Everything else is done through our partners. So you literally have to do the tumbler with your order. Otherwise, there's nothing I could do. Someone said, have you seen today where they're about to ban gas stoves? I didn't hear that. No, you order a hoodie and you get a tumbler for half off. So basically, the way it works, if you go to our store, here, do you want me to show you? Yeah, because sometimes it's easier just to see than it is to say. So say you go over to our store, right? So boom, here you are. Let me just clear my cart so you can see what it does, okay? All right, so you go over to apparel, you go to hoodies. You find the hoodie that you like this hoodie, it's super sick. You add your size, 3X, boom, throw it in your cart. Then you go over to mugs, which is under the gear tab. Go to mugs, just click on, fuck. It does mean tweets. Wait, shit, that's wrong. I gotta fix that. All right, I'll fix that in a second, but for right now, I'll put, now I realize, because you guys don't want the tweets, you want regular mugs. Now I see what the issue was. But once you add that to cart, check out. Oh, shit. No, go like this way. Once you go to cart, see how the mug is instantly free? Now let's say I take this out, right? And I'll fix the mug issue in a second. Say you go to tumblers, and you're like, oh, wow, the old PT News Back to Blue tumbler. I'll throw that in the cart. Now when you go to your cart, this tumbler, instead of being $26.65, which is the lowest price I could get for it, it's $13.33. You see what I'm saying? So that's why the tumblers are half off with the purchase of a sweatshirt, and the mugs are free with the purchase of a sweatshirt. But now let me go in and fix this thing. I was looking up a lawsuit. That's why this is up there. I was looking at a lawsuit earlier. I can't get the journalism bug out. So someone posted something online about a trucking company that's getting sued, and I started looking at it. Let me fix this mug thing, because I know that's probably ticking you guys off, because some of you didn't want the tweet mugs. So let me fix this. And if you already ordered one of the tweet mugs, order another hoodie and a mug. Come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? Get with it, bro. Get with it now. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. I crack myself up. That's the only thing that matters. When I do this, if I laugh at myself because I'm incredible, it's worth. Wait, that's supposed to work. Why isn't it working? It doesn't let you click on it. Because it does the drop down. Fuck me, bro. So let me just do, I'll just do other mugs. Other mugs. So what is this one then? Other mugs. And then collection. And say mugs. There. Add. Save. Now let me refresh this page and see if that updates it. Sorry, I got to get all high tech here. I know it's a pain in the ass. And you guys don't know what I'm even doing, so unless you guys are familiar with the websites, and then you know what I'm doing. Gear, tumblers, other mugs. Okay, here we go. So now when you go up here now, so you go gear, mugs, and then you'll see mean tweets, other mugs. And now here's all of our other mugs. And we got a lot of them. So there you go. Whew, that was a doozy, right? This is on ordering the previous question. So I don't know, I don't really understand how this works now. I think they do another vote on it, I believe. I don't know. I think so. I think that's how it works. I think they do another vote. What was the other one you wanted? Someone said, does Steve still have the Back to Blue shirts that have the tactical team on the back? I don't, but a lot of people are asking for them, so maybe I need to bring that back. I can't verify because the logo is very it's very intricate, and I worry using the new Digisoft printing that we're using that it's not going to pop as much as it did when we screen printed everything, if that makes sense. So that's why I haven't put it as a t-shirt or even a hoodie. I could do it very easily, but that's why I said, nah, I'm not going to do it. Plus it has a PT thing there. There was a land of the free, right? Someone wanted a land of the free thing. But I think someone said, I got one from the first run. Those are badges shirts. Yeah, I have a 2X hoodie that I found here in my warehouse that was my hoodie, so I'm not selling it. But that was the original Back to Blue zip up with that, Back to Blue Tuesday tactical team on the back. I have that hoodie, but it was my old hoodie. I don't fit in the 2X anymore. But yeah, land of the free and a zip up. Okay, that's what it was. All right, so let me try that real quick. This makes good TV, right? I did almost put my face on a hoodie. I'll be honest with you. Because I think it would be cool if people are just walking around with like my face smiling on the front of a hoodie. I think it would be a real conversation starter. Because they'd be like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, why are you wearing some random dude's face on your hoodie? And I was like, and then, then I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. But I thought it was funny, All right, so someone said, new here, not sure what political view is espoused here. So you don't know what my political affiliation is, and so you're curious on whether or not this is a safe space for you. I can honestly say it is likely not going to be the type of place that you want to be if you ask that question. If you enter into an online platform and say, what political affiliation are you? Because I'm not sure if I can watch this because if your political affiliation doesn't align with mine, I don't know if I can handle it. Can you guess my political affiliation? And if you can't, I'm a conservative, not a Republican. I'm married to a liberal, and I hate Democrats and rhino Republicans. So, that's my political affiliation. I am unaffiliated as of right now. I can't even say I'm independent. Isn't that bad? I'm literally just unaffiliated. Kind of like, how they say the gang member stuff? Like you're unaffiliated gang member? That's kind of what I am now. I'm just unaffiliated. Because I don't like anything. Like this whole thing in Washington, what's going on now? That's why I have the shirts on the store that say unrepresented. Because my views and my values are not represented by any political party that's currently in Washington. The closest I would say it comes is to the conservatives, but not even that, because I think some of these people are batshit crazy and only looking to benefit themselves. But that's the truth. All right, so One Nation, zip up, hooded sweatshirt. Damn, these are way more expensive to make. All right, so I'm gonna do this one, and does it look good in that light gray? No, I'll do black and dark gray. That's it. Bam, confirmed. Confirmed. There we go. Next. I'll put the link in the chat here in a second. I guess that person, Sarah Benchalou on Twitch said, I want the truth. I'm socially liberal, fiscally conservative, don't agree with any part right now. All right, then you'll fit right in. Granted, a lot of my political leanings, I'm a conservative. I'm not a Republican, okay? I can't be a Republican, but I don't believe in, I think you know where I stand. But I don't like anybody. I don't like anybody in Washington right now. I think they're all just awful people. They're evil. I mean, there's no other defining way I can say it. They are just pure unadulterated evil. All right, here's the link for that hoodie that I just made. The One Nation zip up. I think that's the logo you wanted. Someone said, "Yeah, I'm not down with the corporatocracy," but I don't even know how you say that. How would you say this one? I'm not down with the corporatocracy. It's a tongue twister. Corporate. That's what it is. But yeah. Someone said, "So glad you came across this channel." Yeah, you say that now. You say that now. Give it a few days. All right, a few days, because sometimes I do a voice changer, and usually my intros to these videos will always be me singing in this voice because I think it's hilarious. But yeah, I'm very well known for pissing off all my viewers, and then they call me a traitor and say I'm mean to them, and it's not nice to pick on your viewers, because I call out everybody. So I call out people that are shitheads. You know what I mean? So if you just happen to be a longtime viewer, but you're being stupid in the chat, I'm going to call you out. That's what I do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong at all. I think it's good. I think it enriches your soul. It's like chicken soup for the soul, except it's not soup at all. Timothy said, welcome to the real Nut House. That is a better version. I should just change the show to Nut House. You know, and we just, like, I literally could probably make a banging YouTube channel just covering, just like when Congress is in session, I am live. And that's it. And, you know, every time they're live on the House floor, I am just live spitting game, taking names and spitting games. TW Lives, the infamous Bakersfield police call. What do you call? What is it called? Police call radio chaser guy. He's on the channel now. Nice, buddy. Nice, buddy. Sounds great live from the Nut House. Yeah, it would be, right? But you see, and it only works with a certain perspective. You know what I mean? Because it would just be funny. It would just be funny. Do you know the opening of Led Zeppelin's Kashmir? Someone said no. You're not talking to me, but that's really random. Very random. Either this thing stopped tracking all the sales or nobody's bought anything in a long time, even though there's a lot of people on the website. So just in case you just tuned in, on puretruthcoffee.com right now, I'm running a sale. The sale is very easy. It's very easy. You go and you buy a hoodie. Then you go to the mug section, add a mug. The mug is free if you have a hoodie in your cart. If you put the mug in first and then do the hoodie later, it's not going to work. Okay? It's just simply not going to work. Or no, it will work, but you're not going to see the mug is free until the hoodie's in there, right? And then if you prefer tumblers over hoodies, we have tumblers as well, but obviously tumblers cost quite a bit more, so I can't do that. You know, so the tumblers are 50% off with the purchase of a hoodie. So, and then of course we have coffee, but I'm asking people to just wait because we're opening our store.
Safe, and I'm a 4th General of Oakland and Minor.
Oh,
it's
thank you.
flooding in the backwoods of California now. Clenched fist, sneezing face, folded hands, red heart smile with a halo.
What is just be safe? I'm a 4th General of Oakland and Minor. What is Oakland and Minor? It's flooding in the backwoods of California now. Yeah, I saw it was flooding earlier. I saw some people were live covering it. Someone said, why do they even have the independents on the screen if there are no independents? There are independents. Bernie Sanders is a registered independent. And now Kirsten Sinema is a registered independent as well. So I don't know if their vote counts as independent. Because, you know, I've never actually seen them counted as independent. I suppose they would be able to. But it would be interesting to see the separate votes. I think there are 3 independents. Maybe 4th generation. Gotcha. Mike Ria said, do the zip-up hoodies run small or big? For me, zip-up hoodies always run small. So that's what I would say. You know, a 2X, for example, I'm a bigger than average person, but a 2X does not fit me at all. It's too tight. So I get a 3X. But then again, this hoodie is a 3X and this is not a zip up. It's just the only one that, because I have long arms too. You know, broad shoulders, long arms. Great arms, by the way. And yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the timer is never honored. I don't know what the purpose of the timer is, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, any purchase today in the store is registered for the giveaway. Would it make more sense for me to do the giveaway like tomorrow morning, to pick someone tomorrow morning, or because I don't want to do the giveaway when I'm done with the show and then have like 20 people that have shit in their cards be like, oh, I'm not going to be entered in the giveaway. Would it make more sense for me to do a giveaway tomorrow morning? Just for today's order. So like if they watch this on repeat, you can also enter the giveaway. Press 1 if you think I should do that tomorrow morning. And I'll do it just like I do every single time where I post who won all over social media. So actually, I have all your emails. So I'll just post who won, but then I'll send you emails. You press it in your chat. Press 1 in the chat if I should wait and do the drawing tomorrow morning. That way, everybody, like, you could take time and look at the hoodies and look at the mugs, because we do have a lot of hoodies and mugs. Or press 2 if you're like, fuck that, bro. Let's do it today. Fuck all these guys that are slow. I think everyone says 1. Your time slot just changed, so you might want to wait. Yeah. Sarah is not being helpful at all and writes 121212121. Hey, Sarah on Twitch, we are going to get along just fine. You might want to just become a paid subscriber there. We're going to get along just fine. With comments like that where you're like, oh, is it 1 or 2? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. It's like listening to any political speech. Just you can't make up their minds, so they just lie about everything. Someone said, don't be a Democrat, change the process midstream. That's not being a Democrat. That's being fiscally conscious. Because I know that if I leave this up, this giveaway throughout the night, people are going to go on and take their time and pick the hoodies that they really want and the mugs that they really want. And so I feel like I should do that, right? I think so. And most of you guys agree too. Because nobody wants to actually like rush through picking a hoodie and stuff like that. Oh, the reason why I'm saying don't order coffee yet is because I've got a big resupply of coffee coming. But this is a new thing, right? So many of you guys know I'm opening a free coffee shop. Actually, it's open now. But part of the issue I was having is I'm going to be there in the morning. It's going to be extremely limited hours because then I have to stop. I have to come here where all the office and the warehouse and everything is, and then do my show and all that stuff. Drive back down there, do the stock. So it's, I spend more time driving than I actually do at any individual place between the warehouse and the store. So I was thinking about it and I'm like, it makes more sense for me to move the office shit back down there, the printers and everything, use this for storage, and then just that for, my main office because I'm there. Granted, the internet there sucks. It's horrible. But then I was like, let me look at my lease. And I can actually sublease this spot because I don't want to lose it because I'll never, ever find a warehouse that's cheap ever again. But I reached out to the landlord and I'm like, hey, I don't know if you have, because I'll just keep paying for it otherwise, but can I sublease this? And he's like, yeah, you could sublease it. That's no problem. Actually, here's someone that was looking for space the other day. We just don't have any. So yeah, I'm going to try to sublease the office in this warehouse, and move the gym equipment to my other warehouse at the end of the building. And I'll use that and I'll just do like a full utilities, everything sublease here for, 6 months, 8 months until the store is popping, right? And then it allows me to keep the store open more now that, I had a genius idea. I ran out of fucking t-shirts today. So I was like, what can I do? I went to Walmart and bought a bunch of blank t-shirts, and they are better quality than some of the other t-shirts that I spend more money on. But I printed up a bunch of t-shirts, so it's good. John Kennedy said, are you still looking for a truck? Yeah, when I was saying that the other day, I meant like early 90s or 80s truck, for cheap or free. I'll fucking paint your name on it or something like that. But I want like a shop truck is essentially what I want. Like a beater truck that looks kind of beat, but it's not, because I'd fix it all up and make it dope.
205. The previous question is ordered.
Is there a land of the free?
Lady from Connecticut seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to commit at the desk.
The clerk will report the motion.
Ms. DeLauro of Connecticut moves to commit the resolution, House Resolution 5, to a select committee composed of the majority leader or the minority leader with instructions to report the same back to the House forthwith with the following amendment. At the end of the resolution.
Mr. Speaker.
Clerk will suspend. Gentlelady from Connecticut.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading.
Without objection. The motion is considered as read. Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the motion to commit. The question is on the motion. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The motion is not agreed to. Gentlelady from Connecticut.
Ask for the yeas and nays.
Yeas and nays are requested. All those in favor of the vote by the yeas and nays will rise. Sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to the order of the House of today, this is a 5-4 5-minute vote.
We're not effing around today, but so watch. It's 6:54 right now. They said it's a 5-minute vote, and I bet it's not going to end till like five years from now. Land of the Free hoodie. Let me see where that logo is. Where is the Land of the Free? That is one nation under God, which is already a zip up. Fuck your mandates. Fuck Antifa. I don't, no, I don't believe I do. I don't think I do have a Land of the Free one that's online. Unfortunately. Nope. So I believe right now they're voting to... Well, here, watch. Consider unfinished business, HRES 5. Title of the measure is not available. So what they're trying to do, the Democrats are trying to get them not to move forward with the rules. And you have one Republican, Gonzalez, I believe his name was, that said he wasn't going to vote for this rules package. He didn't like it. So that's why you have, well, you had one Republican, but they're not there anymore. Peaceful Riot Archive. So there you go. That's the best that I can do to summarize this for you right now. Look at all these lazy... Think about the money. You see each head in there? $176,000 a year of your dollars. Every single person in there. 176, 176, 176, 176, 176, 176, 176, and it makes your head explode thinking about it. It's fucking insane. Janine said, be right back, gotta go cook dinner. I already ate dinner. I already did. You know, I'm in here right now. You know, I can't do that because it's a black one. Oh, you know what I'll do? Oh, did I already do a victory or death zip up? I think I did. When tyranny becomes duty. I printed up a bunch of those shirts today. Oh, so what I was saying is if all works out and I could sublease this office space for like 6 months or whatever, I'll do full utilities and everything. That way I just keep them all on. Then I will go back to the store. My store hours, instead of just being 3 days, will be 7 days a week. And I'll be open till like 3:30, and then I'll shut down when I do my live stream every day. So, you know, everyone cross your fingers. Or if I like sell 1,000 mugs today, I'll do that. Or 1,000 hoodies today, I'll do that. But I'm just not at that point yet financially, you know. Tambia said you ordered a hoodie and a tumbler. Nice. You guys want shout-outs? I'll give you shout-outs. You ready? You got to give a shout-out to Tambi, Terry, Mary, Brian, Thomas, Mindy. Damn. Mindy is like an all-star purchaser here on the store. I appreciate you so much. Mary again, who purchased again. Jonathan, Michelle, Jesse, John, Lisa, and Renee. So you have pretty good odds so far if you want the chance to win the TV. And because our viewers are so nice for everyone that is watching, the viewers voted that we will wait until tomorrow morning. So you make a purchase at any point today of anything, and you will be entered for a chance to win a TV. As of right now, it's up to a 55-inch flat screen television. Smart TV. We only do smart TVs. And I just buy it on Amazon and ship it right to you. That's how it works. Super easy. Nanner, good luck or have fun at the game, Nanner. Thanks for being here, Nan. Naan, you know that's like something for bread. Is it Spanish for bread? Naan. Naan. I like naan. What? What is this? Breaking news? What? Shut the fuck up. The Justice Department is reviewing a batch of potentially classified documents found in the Washington office space of President Joe Biden's former institute, the White House said on Monday. Special counsel to the president, Richard Stauber, said a small number of documents with classified markings were discovered as Biden's personal attorneys were clearing out the offices kept in Penn Biden Center, where the president kept an office until or after he left the vice presidency in 2017 until shortly before he launched his 2020 presidential campaign in 2019. Stauber said the attorneys immediately alerted the White House counsel's office, who notified the National Archives and Records Administration, who took copies of the took copies of the documents the next day. A person who is familiar with the matter but not authorized to discuss it publicly said Attorney General Merrick Garland asked U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, John Luch, to review the matter after the archives referred the issue to the department. He's one of the few U.S. attorneys to be held over from former President Donald Trump's administration. Irrespective of the Justice Department's review, the revelation that Biden potentially mishandled classified or presidential records could prove to be a political headache for the president, who called Trump's decision to keep hundreds of such records at his private club in Florida irresponsible. Trump weighed in on Monday on his social media site asking, when is the FBI going to raid the many homes of Joe Biden, perhaps even the White House? The revelation comes as Republicans have taken control of the House of Representatives and are promising to launch widespread investigation of the Biden's administration. It may also complicate the Justice Department's consideration on whether to bring charges against Trump, who has launched a repeat bid for the White House in 2024 and has repeatedly claimed that the department's inquiry of his own conduct amounted to corruption. Representative James Comer, the new GOP chairman of the House Oversight Committee, said Monday that the revelation raised questions about the Justice Department's handling of the Trump probe, saying, is the White House going to be raided tonight? Are they going to raid the Bidens? He asked reporters. This is a further concern that there is now a two-tier justice system within the Department of Justice with how they treat Republicans versus Democrats, certainly how they treat the former president versus the current president. The National Archives did not comment. CBS was the first to report on the document discovery. That's pretty cool. Someone said it broke like an hour ago. I just heard about it. That's why I said it's breaking news right now to me. But that's pretty interesting. So they found classified documents at Joe Biden's residence. I wonder if the means and I haven't been on Twitter today, so I wonder what Twitter's if the liberals are apologizing for it, like they typically do. I wonder. I don't really wonder because I know. I already know. For anyone that is watching that would like a chance at a television tonight, at any point tonight, even if you're watching this on a repeat, we are going to be giving away a TV to one lucky viewer or one lucky purchaser at our store. There is no purchase necessary. You can mail a self-addressed, self-stamped envelope to 121 North Main Street, Woodstock, Virginia, 22664, if you want. But the giveaway's tomorrow, so you would have to fucking send it via fucking courier pigeon. Yeah, all you have to do is go in, buy anything from the store, but I prefer that you buy a hoodie, and you could find the link in the chat right now. I just put it in there. Once you add the hoodie to your cart, guess what you can do? Because we love you so much, because you bought a hoodie, then what you do is you go into the mugs section and click on all mugs or something like that, other mugs, and then choose whatever mug you want, add that to your cart as well. The mug is free. Yep. And if you're one of the people that, you can't drink from a mug, even though it's amazing, but you like to drink from tumblers, we have tumblers as well, except they're not free. They're 50% off because we can't do free on tumblers because they're too expensive. You know what I'm saying? Someone said 2 Republicans voted nay. Is this not live? Nope, it's live. So far, only 1 did. Sir. Good sir. And there was one Republican, I believe his name is Gonzalez, that it's known that he was going to vote no on this. He already said he would. He said he was going to vote no. Rene Jean Pierre said California is going through weather hell right now. Yeah. It's like 100,000 people without power in California right now, right? Well, that's some big numbers, boys and girls. Big numbers. Did you like Trump when he was running in 2015 before he took office? I liked him in 2016. At first, I'll be honest with you. At first, when Donald Trump announced, I wasn't a big fan. I'll be honest. I didn't think he had a chance at winning. And then when he won the primary, I'm like, holy crap. And then when he had the debates, I'm like, this is going to be amazing. So yes, I voted for him. But when he first walked down the escalator and stuff, I was like, nah. Because I never knew his politics. So I didn't pay attention. I always heard his comments on social media or on like different news channels and stuff. But no, I wasn't, even at that time, granted, I held appointed positions within some local governments where I lived, but I wasn't that big into national politics. In fact, I wish I never got into national politics because I think local politics, state level politics is where it's at. That's where you can actually affect change. You're not going to affect any change in Washington. Not like the daily lives. Yeah, sure, the long term. But like the shit they do in Washington doesn't affect daily lives, in my opinion. Or it shouldn't. You know what I mean? That's what states are supposed to be doing. The resolution is agreeing to the House rules. Or I think it's to, House Res 5 is what it is. It's the House rules that everybody is trying to get them not to go with. And I think they just need a simple majority, right? That's it. I believe. And that was our 5-minute vote that has now lasted 11 minutes. Hey, when the guy got up to talk, we couldn't hear him talk. Yeah, no shit, because the sound was muted. You know why they say? They're like, I'm here for the honorable blah, 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 casting my vote that way. So you're not missing shit, okay? So. Victoria, I got you. I had the sound off because I don't like, you hear that background noise right now? It's really annoying in my ears. Which resolution is this? It's House Resolution number 5, bruh. It's like Love Potion number 5, but not a love potion. It's a House Resolution. Ah, you see what I did there? Fucking witty, bro. That's what it is. You know, Dem don't want nothing to do with the rules. That is true. You need to hear the harumph. I don't know what that is. Go to the World Economic Forum and look up the Great Reset. No, let's not. Victoria Garra said, my bad. No, you're good. You're good, Victoria. Don't you worry your little soul. We have a lot of people watching on Rumble. However, the live chat looks like it's dead, not working. Nobody's in that live chat right there. Nobody's in that live chat right there. Some people are commenting, but they're commenting in the comment section versus the live. Hey, will you guys all go over to Rumble real quick and hit that thumbs up button? Here, I'll put the link in the chat. Everybody just quickly run over to Rumble and click that thumbs up button over there. If you would be so kind. Because that gets other people that aren't, used to watching truth, watch some truth, real quick. And then once you're done, go over to puretruthcoffee.com, buy a hoodie, add your coffee mug, your free coffee mug, and bada boom. The reason why I was asking for you guys to delay your coffee orders is because I have a few that I need to get out still, but we're going to be switching the way we do coffee because now I'm going to grind to order because we're going to do it right in the coffee shop. So in the coffee shop, all of the coffee orders from the night previous will grind to order, package, and ship right out to you. So, because we use the bags, the vented bags. To be honest, I should grind them and let them sit for a day to aerate or whatever, but it's okay. It's okay. And eventually what I'm also going to be doing is that you will be able, if you live locally, you'll be able to place an order of certain products like a coffee order and you can pick up in store. So that's pretty amazing too. Boom, 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 boom. Followed and smashed on Rumble. Hell yeah, you did. That's what I'm talking about. Laura Lindsay. I see your comment.
On this vote, the yeas are 220, the nays are 213. The resolution is agreed to. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
We do not vacuum seal the coffee. We don't have the capabilities yet. When we do get to the position where we can purchase our own coffee roaster, because right now we contract roast with the oldest roastery in America from 1820s. That's why our coffee is amazing, and that's why I can't do like massive discounts, because it's already we pay a lot for a coffee. Like the Awake Not Woke, we pay $11.95 a pound. I just had to reorder it today, and I'm like, oh my god, because there's not a lot of profit in those bags of coffee. But you know what? It is what it is. It's you guys, when you have my coffee, you know it's different. You know, I'm not some typical
Members,
streamer
you can
that's
take your
drop shipping
conversations
it.
from the floor, clear the aisle, clear the well. The House has business to conduct. The House will be in order. Members, clear the aisles. Take a seat or your conversations from the floor. For what purpose does the gentleman from Oklahoma seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I offer a privileged resolution and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Resolution 6. Resolved that unless otherwise recorded, the hour of daily meeting of the House shall be 2 p.m. on Mondays, noon on Tuesdays, or 2 p.m. if no legislative business was conducted on the preceding Monday, noon on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and 9 a.m. on all other days of the week.
Without objection, the resolution is agreed to. The motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole, seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I offer a privileged concurrent resolution and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the concurrent resolution.
House Concurrent Resolution 1. Resolved by the House of Representatives that the Senate concurring that pursuant to Clause 4 and Section 5 of Article 1 of the Constitution, during the 118th Congress, the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader of the Senate, or their respective designees, acting jointly after consultation with the Minority Leader of the House and the Minority Leader of the Senate, may notify the members of the House and the Senate, respectively, to assemble at a place outside the District of Columbia if, in their opinion, the public interest shall warrant it.
Without objection, the concurrent resolution is agreed to, and the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
That's weird.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana, the
The
Majority
Speaker of the
Leader,
House can
Scalise,
order people
seek
meet
recognition?
outside of D.C.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent
That's
that during
weird.
the 118th Congress, the Speaker, Majority Leader, and Minority Leader be authorized to accept resignations and to make appointments authorized by law or by the House.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker,
Gentleman from Louisiana.
I also ask unanimous consent that during the 118th Congress, all members be permitted to extend their remarks and to include extraneous material within the permitted limit in that section of the record entitled Extensions of Remarks.
Without objection. Gentleman from Louisiana.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that during the first session of the 118th Congress, on legislative days of Monday or Tuesday when the House convenes pursuant to House Resolution 6, the House shall convene 2 hours earlier than the time otherwise established by the resolution for the purpose of conducting morning hour debate. On legislative days of Wednesday or Thursday when the House convenes pursuant to House Resolution 6, the House shall convene 2 hours earlier than the time otherwise established by the resolution for the purpose of conducting morning hour debate. When the House convenes pursuant to an order other than House Resolution 6, the House shall convene for the purpose of conducting morning hour debate only as prescribed by such order. The time for morning hour debate shall be allocated equally between the parties and may not continue beyond 10 minutes before the hour appointed for the resumption of the session of the House. And the form of proceeding for morning hour debate shall be as follows. The prayer by the chaplain, the approval of the journal, and the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag shall be postponed until resumption of the session of the House. Initial and subsequent recognitions for debate shall alternate between the parties. Recognition shall be conferred by the Speaker only pursuant to lists submitted by the Majority Leader and by the Minority Leader. No member may address the House for longer than 5 minutes except the Majority Leader, the Minority Leader, or the Minority Whip. No legislative business shall be in order except the filing of privileged reports, And following morning hour debate, the chair shall declare a recess pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1 until the time appointed for the resumption of the session of the House. And the Speaker may dispense with morning hour debate upon receipt of notification described in Clause 12C of Rule 1 or upon a change in reconvening pursuant to Clause 12E of Rule 1 and notify members accordingly.
Without objection.
That
the chair announces the Speaker's appointment pursuant to 2 U.S. Code 2001 in the order of the House of today, the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise, and the gentleman from New York, Mr. Jeffries, as members of the House Office Building Commission to serve with the Speaker. The chair announces that the Speaker has delivered to the clerk a letter dated January 7, 2023, listing members in the order in which shall act as Speaker pro tem under Clause 8B3 of Rule 1. The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., January 7, 2023. I hereby designate Representative Steve Scalise of Louisiana to exercise any authority regarding assembly, reassembly, convening, or reconvening of the House pursuant to House Concurrent Resolution 1, Clause 12 of Rule 1, and any concurrent resolution of the current Congress as may contemplate my designation of members to exercise similar authority. In the event of the death or inability of that designee, the alternate members of the House listed in the letter bearing this date that I have placed with the clerk are designated in turn for the same purposes. Signed sincerely, Kevin McCarthy, Speaker.
The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., January 7, 2023. I hereby appoint the Honorable Patrick McHenry, the Honorable Adrian Smith.
I don't know
the
what the fuck
Honorable
they're
Robert
doing.
Whitman,
They're passing
the
all
Honorable
sorts of
Andy
weird
Harris,
shit.
the Honorable Richard Hudson, the Honorable John Joyce, and the Honorable Guy Reschenthaler to act as Speaker pro tempore to sign enrolled bills and joint resolutions through the remainder of the 118th Congress. Signed sincerely, Kevin McCarthy, Speaker.
The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir. Under Clause 2G of Rule 2 of the Rules of the U.S. House of Representatives, I herewith designate Ms. Lisa P. Grant, Deputy Clerk, Mr. Kevin F. McCumber, Deputy Clerk, Ms. Tanya Sloan, Legal Counsel, and Ms. Cheryl H. Muller, Director of Personnel, to sign any and all papers and perform all other acts for me under the name of the Clerk of the House for which they would be authorized to do by virtue of this designation, except such as are provided by statute in case of my temporary absence or disability. This designation shall remain in effect for the 118th Congress or until modified by me. Signed sincerely, Cheryl L. Johnson, Clerk of the House.
The chair lays before the House an additional communication.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir, pursuant to the permission granted in Clause 2H of Rule 2 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, the clerk received the following message from the Secretary of the Senate on January 3, 2023 at 5:39 p.m. That the Senate agreed to informing the House of Representatives that a quorum of the Senate is assembled. Senate Resolution 2. That the Senate agreed to notifying the House of Representatives of the election of a President pro tempore. Senate Resolution 5. Signed sincerely, Cheryl L. Johnson, Clerk.
The chair customarily takes this occasion at the outset of a Congress to announce policies with respect to particular aspects of the legislative process. The chair will insert in the record announcements concerning, first, privileges of the floor; second, introduction of bills and resolutions; third, unanimous consent requests.
So this is where they're setting all the rules.
Fourth, recognition for 1-minute speeches; fifth, recognition for special order speeches; sixth, decorum in debate; seventh, conduct of votes by electronic device; eighth, use of handouts on the House floor; ninth, use of electronic equipment on the House floor; and 10th, use of the chamber. These announcements, where appropriate, will reiterate the origins of the stated policies. The chair intends to continue in the 118th Congress the policies reflected in these statements. The policy announced in the 102nd Congress with respect to jurisdictional concepts related to Clauses 5A of Rule 21, tax and tariff measures, will continue to govern but need to be reiterated as it is adequately documented as precedent.
He sounds like a talk show host, doesn't he?
Without objection, the announcements will be printed in the record.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Smith, seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to House Resolution 5, I call up the bill H.R. 23, the Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act, and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 23, a bill to rescind certain balances made available to the Internal Revenue Service.
Oh, is this the IRS bill? Is this the IRS bill? Are they going to debate this fucker right now?
Pursuant to House Resolution 5,
yeah.
the bill is considered read. The bill shall be debatable for 1 hour, equally divided and controlled by the majority leader and the minority leader, or their respective designees. The gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Smith, and the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Neal, will each control 30 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Smith.
I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days within which to revise and extend the remarks.
Share it out.
And include
I just got
extraneous
excited as
materials
shit,
on the
bro.
bill currently under consideration.
Hell yeah,
Without
man.
objection. I give myself as much time as I may
I'm gonna
consume.
try not to talk through it either for you.
Mr. Speaker, the process
Buy
of
hoodies.
considering our first bill
Buy hoodies.
of the 118th
Should I make a
reflects our
shirt?
commitment
If I
to
make a
America.
hoodie, it says defund the IRS. Will you guys all buy it right now? Like
Congresswoman
seriously?
Michelle Steele and I
Everybody?
first introduced this bill in September. Members were given more than 72 hours notice prior to today's consideration. 72 hours is more than enough time for members to review this bill. In fact, it's 2 pages long and covers only one topic. If members wish to vote on this bill, they must be present in the House chamber because proxy voting is no longer an option. Now let's focus on what this bill does. It repeals the vast majority of the Internal Revenue Service funding Democrats enacted last year in order to pay for their Green New Deal. The primary purpose of that funding is hiring more auditors and support staff to vastly expand IRS's audit capacity, and not just audits on wealthy Americans. With that expanded capacity, IRS can bring in more revenue by auditing more middle and lower income families and more small businesses. Families and small businesses are struggling under the weight of record inflation and supply chain shortages. Small businesses are struggling to find workers at any wage. The overwhelming majority of Americans, about 85%, follow the law and pay their taxes. The last thing they need is more IRS agents knocking on doors to conduct audits. Yet this IRS funding is part of the broad Biden administration strategy to tax and audit exponentially more Americans by looking into their bank accounts, requiring online payment services to report them when they split a dinner check with friends or pay their babysitter.
Defund the IRS is better because that's us not paying. See what I mean?
IRS employees. Americans deserve to know their government is working for them, not
that hoodie's going to be available
today,
in
Mr.
like 2
Speaker,
seconds.
you're going to hear Democrats claim there really won't be 87,000 new IRS employees.
In order, please take your conversations elsewhere.
Yeah, get the fuck out!
The gentleman
This is
may
a
resume.
new house!
I imagine they'll say that new employees aren't going to target middle-class families and small businesses and that Republicans don't care about IRS's customer service failings. Let's focus on the facts. When a federal agency hires a new employee to replace one who retires, it does not increase the agency's headcount. Yet the Biden administration's own documents say they are increasing headcount by 87,000 over the next decade with these funds. Secretary Yellen's own instructions to IRS stated audit rates of families earning less than $400,000 should continue to be audited at historically similar rates. Under those instructions, 9 out of every 10 new audits can target families earning less than $400,000. And because Republicans are committed to delivering a government that is accountable, this bill retains funding for customer service and IT modernization at IRS, despite the fact these accounts would be more appropriately addressed through regular appropriations to ensure IRS has the resources to make much-needed improvement to taxpayer services. Mr. Speaker, there are numerous reasons to support this bill. It protects families and small businesses. It ensures agencies are funded appropriately. Most importantly, it stops autopilot funding for an out-of-control government agency that is perhaps most in need of reform.
Yeah, but
IRS
when
needs
would
to
this
fix
go
its
into
customer
effect?
service and
Immediately?
return processing problems, not focus on auditing families and small businesses. Americans want an IRS that works for them, not against them. This bill is a great first step in that direction, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts.
Defund the
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
IRS
I yield
hoodie.
myself such time
Link
as I
in the
might
chat.
consume.
So ordered.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to H.R. 23.
Well, of
and my
course you
friend
do.
from Nebraska, he suggested a number of issues that we intend to challenge during the course of the next half hour based upon the facts. So this is theater tonight, Mr. Speaker. If we didn't get enough of the entertainment factor last week, we're going to proceed with it again this evening. 87,000 IRS agents. Let me debunk that right away. There are regular retirements of up to 8,000 a year. We're replacing them. How about the methodology of a computer upgrade, an investment in technology, more modeling? Or should we have an IRS that operates the way Southwest Airlines did last week, to the dismay of the American family? This is a messaging bill, Mr. Speaker, and the message that they choose to send, and let everybody understand this, the first bill that they have submitted, according to the Congressional Budget Office, adds $114 billion to the federal deficit.
Who's he looking at?
Legislation number one. They don't want a fairer tax administration.
I'm going to call my wife, so
some of their
I'll
supporters.
be off for a
But
minute.
you know what? This is what they're attempting to do tonight is bad for middle-class families. It's bad for small businesses, who then are asked to pay more when the people at the top don't pay their fair share. I have a letter that I wish to submit that came from Charles Rosati, the former IRS commissioner, and he points out in the opening paragraph of a tax notes special, and by the way, those of us in the tax world, we know what tax notes means. He said that last year, and this would be 2021, the federal government failed to collect $574 billion of taxes that were legally due but not paid. That's equal more to most of the federal deficit. They want to reduce the deficit? We should do a better job with tax compliance, which, after all, is the basis of a representative democracy. 86% of the American people, Mr. Speaker, they pay their taxes every year on time. Do you know why? Because they get paid in wages and it comes from withholding taxes. That's what it's about. The American people are wise to what's being presented here tonight. We live in a two-tier tax system. Wage earners follow the rules. Wealthy billionaires, they get to skirt their responsibilities, and that's what we're being asked to vote on tonight. IRS funding has been stagnant. Staffing levels have dropped. Have you tried getting an IRS office on the phone? How many times will we continue to let those at the top get away without paying their share? We lose out, just think of it again, almost $600 billion a year in unpaid taxes. It's very sophisticated tax planning that is done by high-priced attorneys and CPAs. It's estimated that this could be up to $7 trillion because we score items over the course of 10 years. So what might this funding pay for? How about Social Security? How about Medicare? How about a strong military? How about a child tax credit that could be expanded? How about universal paid family and medical leave? And how about bringing down health care costs? The audit rates amongst millionaires has declined by 70% since 2010. Let me repeat that for anybody who didn't get that. The audit rate for millionaires has declined by 70% since 2010. Low-income workers who receive the earned income tax credit, they are audited now more than taxpayers who are making over $1 million a year. All we're asking for is fairness in the distribution of the responsibilities as to how we pay for government. There's a different set of standards across the land now, and to point out to you that once again, what is our commitment to America? It should be based on a fair tax system that collects what is due from those who ought to be paying. The former IRS commissioner, a Republican, Charles Redding, he pointed out that he was fully in support of the legislation that we were offering because the IRS is continually outmaneuvered and outgunned by sophisticated efforts from tax lawyers and CPAs. We have to put American families over the politics and the distribution of theater that we're witnessing tonight. see through this legislation and vote no. I reserve the balance of my time, Mr. Speaker.
The request will be granted without objection. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Nebraska.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for unanimous consent to submit an excerpt from the 2021 Biden administration proposal called the American Families Plan Tax Compliance Agenda that asks for $80 billion in IRS funding and clearly shows a plan for 86,852 new hires.
Without objection.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now yield 1 minute to the gentleman from North Carolina, a member of the Ways and Means Committee, Dr. Murphy.
The gentleman from North Carolina is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today, and I thank the gentleman from Nebraska. I rise today in support of the Family Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act, one of the first legislative acts of the new Republican majority. Main Street America has suffered 2 years too many of Democrat one-party rule. Inflation continues to hover at record highs, and small businesses continue to struggle. The last thing that these small businesses can afford right now is 87,000 new IRS agents not only targeting their enterprises, but targeting their livelihoods. With 11 million tax returns still awaiting IRS action, the IRS should be focusing on doing their job rather than weaponizing their agency. This isn't new. The Democrats have used IRS and the tax code as a weapon before and are attempting to do it again. The Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act rescinds new IRS funding intended to target middle-class families. This cannot wait. I urge passage of this bill so our small businesses can thrive, absent any fear of IRS agents knocking at their door. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Doggett, who intends to talk about the tax gap.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
This first Republican bill should be known as the Protect Donald Trump and His Tax Cheating Cronies Act. After years of obstructing access to Donald Trump's tax
It's all
returns,
Donald Trump.
we learned how
Always.
little he paid toward the cost of our national security and how poorly the Trump Internal Revenue Service enforced our tax laws. Each year, the richest 1% in our country avoid paying an incredible $160 billion of the taxes they owe. This crime wave of Trump-style tax cheating is made possible by Republican insistence on defunding the revenue police. Over the past decade, audit rates for corporations are down by half. The ultra-rich by 3/4. Republican claimed interest in law and order seems to vanish when it comes to tax fraud by the wealthiest few. And their very first bill adds $114 billion to our deficit. Yes, Trump may have been indispensable last week, but this is outrageous. When those like Trump don't pay what they owe, the tax burden gets shifted to small businesses and to families across our country. Reject the Republican
Trump
drive to
derangement
defund.
system.
I yield back.
It's so fucking crazy, bro.
Gentleman reserves.
This bill does nothing. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump at all. This bill has to do with everyone. Do you know, for example, I'm a paid employee of my company. I'm the only one. I'm a paid employee of my company. I draw a salary. Of that salary, I pay taxes on myself, and then I have to pay employer taxes of roughly 30% of the paycheck. So for example, for every $1,000, it's $1,312 that I end up owing in total. So when they say people, employers are not paying taxes or these big corporations are not paying taxes, they're lying. They're lying. All of your employers are all paying taxes on you, not just the taxes that you pay. They pay employer taxes and all that stuff as well. It's so stupid.
Was giving the IRS $72 billion taxpayer dollars to hire 87,000 additional agents whose job would be to stalk transactions of everyday Americans and attack small businesses. Middle-class Americans and the small businesses that fuel our economy have been unable to catch a break over the last 2 years. That ends today. There's simply no reasonable rationale to make the IRS larger than the Pentagon, State Department, FBI, and Border Control together. If we're adding an additional 87,000 agents, why don't we send them to the southern border to help our border agents who are already overwhelmed and understaffed. I stand with my colleagues today in support of H.R. 23 to block the intrusive and unnecessary 87,000 new IRS agents. Americans deserve a government that will work for them, and stopping this funding is a first step in the right direction. I yield back.
Okay, first off, let's be honest right here with all of you guys. It's not funding for 87,000 IRS armed agents. Contrary to what the right-leaning, like people on social, it's not what it is. Yes, they wanted to add more auditors. That's what it was, which is far worse than ICE or IRS agents. Auditors are far worse. They're the people that want to go and audit more people. That's what they want. They wanted to add more auditors, which is why they put all this funding in there. Everybody is saying, oh, it's ICE agent or law enforcement officers, IRS law enforcement. No. They want to add more auditors, which that's what should concern everybody.
Guided, expensive, and unpaid for legislation. For years, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have done everything they can to demonize the IRS. But here's the reality. When the IRS doesn't have the funding it needs, two very bad things happen. The very wealthy tax cheats are able to avoid paying their fair share, and two, our constituents who need help from the IRS face unnecessary and disruptive delays in getting that help. You can't criticize the IRS for its performance while simultaneously fighting to cut the IRS budget. And despite what my colleagues on the other side of the aisle would lead you to believe, there aren't 87,000 stormtroopers funded in this bill that are going to bang down your door. That is pure and utter nonsense. Taxes are the price we pay to live in a civilized society. They're a fundamental part of our civic responsibility to one another. This bill is a bad idea, and I encourage all my colleagues to vote no. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Nebraska.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Kansas, Mr. Estes.
Gentleman from Kansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased today to rise in support of common sense legislation that puts the American people ahead of padding the coffers of the IRS. It wasn't long ago that Washington was under one-party rule. This chamber was recently under the leadership of the Democrat Party that worked to give D.C. bureaucrats more power and wanted to hire an army of IRS agents to harass and audit.
They're all talking points. They need to stop saying
the need for more
IRS
agents to address the crisis at our southern border. Congressman Smith's legislation eliminates the devastating IRS provision that Democrats snuck into their so-called Inflation Reduction Act by rescinding the funding to this D.C. agency. The facts are that middle and lower income people are audited more by IRS agents by design of the IRS. The Kansans I represent need relief from high gas prices and rampant inflation caused by the current administration and one-party rule. My constituents don't need a supercharged IRS that will investigate their transaction between friends and sick 87,000 new agents on them. The bill, as the first bill that the new Congress addresses, puts our priorities on full display. Republicans are ready to restore our nation and hold our government accountable. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the gentleman from Kansas, my friend. He just pointed out that the people at the bottom are audited more than the people at the top. That's precisely the point that we're attempting to make here during the course of the next few minutes. So with that, let me recognize the distinguished gentleman from Maryland.
Because there's more people at the bottom, fucking morons. Like, come on, it's so hard to, like, if I was in Congress right now, I'd be like, are you dumb?
He made in his opening statement.
There's more people at the bottom.
This debate about IRS lends itself to being the most dishonest.
That's like Joe Biden saying, oh, we've expelled more people than any other previous administration. Yeah, no shit. It's because you're letting more people in. More people are getting caught. Therefore, the numbers of expulsions are going to continue to rise, too.
Return, having left the majority leader's spot. This bill is a bad bill. Every small American taxpayer ought to be for this bill, because this bill will make sure that others pay their fair share as they do. That's the issue. They're paying their fair share, as the chairman noted, because we take it out of their salary. But the people who get it through dividends and capital gains, et cetera, they've got the lawyers, the accountants, and the people who can tell them how not to pay their fair share. This is a bill against
that fair
small
share
business.
shit.
This is a bill against
Gentleman's
the small
time has
taxpayer.
expired.
This is against paying your fair share.
I hate the fair share comments. I really do.
From Nebraska.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for unanimous consent to submit for the record a Republican.
Just keep in mind that I don't know if there's ever been a congressman that didn't enter with a regular job and leave a millionaire. Not one of them is paying their fair share. In fact, do they even have to pay taxes? Like, that's a real question. Do they have to pay taxes on their federal salary? I know we pay their health insurance,
I think the
don't
gentleman
we?
from Nebraska. House Republicans made a promise to the American people to fight for working class families. And we made a promise that our first order of business under a new Republican majority would be repeal the $80 billion Democrats gave the IRS to hire 87,000 new agents to target American working class families. We are delivering on that promise today. This bill rescinds the IRS funds in the Inflation Reduction Act, a law that does nothing to combat inflation, but everything to empower an agency that has targeted Americans. They've leaked taxpayer information, and under the Biden administration, they threaten to snoop into the bank accounts of millions of middle-class families. We know this because President Biden wrote such a proposal into his first budget as part of his agenda to expand the power of the IRS and shovel billions more to this troubled agency. At that time, we asked the Joint Committee on Taxation how many Americans might be subject to such a scheme to spy into the bank accounts. The JCT said up to 134 million taxpayers could be targeted. So much for just going after the millionaires and the billionaires that our Democrat colleagues like to talk about. And while the Biden administration, including Treasury Secretary Yellen, has tried to dismiss concerns over how middle-class Americans would be targeted by the IRS under the Democrats' $80 billion infusion of cash, the Congressional Budget Office has affirmed that undoubtedly families making less than $400,000 per year would be subjected to increased enforcement and, yes, audits by the IRS. But of course, this would be the case when you realize that more than half of the $80 billion Democrats gave the IRS is earmarked for enforcement. The IRS does not need a raise. It needs a reckoning. And what starts today with rescinding this $80 billion continues through rigorous IRS oversight that Democrats ignored under the one-party rule. Taxpayers deserve true oversight for an agency that leaked the tax returns of thousands of American taxpayers at the same time the White House was calling for tax increases on those individuals. We are talking about an agency with a history of targeting conservatives, with woefully underperforming customer service, and whose own commissioner under Obama called this $80 billion more than 3 times the amount of money the agency actually needed. House Republicans are ready to provide oversight and accountability, and that starts today with ending this $80 billion pay raise. I yield back.
Reserve. Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me congratulate Mr. Smith, incidentally, on his recent elevation to become the chair.
All right, real quick, just so you guys know, while they are, going back and forth about tax deductions for the rich people, like in their tax bracket, like the $3,000 write-off that they're going to have for having a second residence, and it's automatic, and we have to fill out a ton of paperwork if we have a second residence, right? Like simple stuff like that. Members of Congress have it easy. While they bicker about that stuff, I need to remind you something. On Pure Truth Coffee right now, we are doing a buy one, get one kind of deal, right? You buy a hoodie on Pure Truth Coffee and you get a free mug of your choosing. You buy a hoodie and you get a half price tumbler as well. And to top it off, we're also giving away a TV. So if you place an order today, tomorrow morning, we're going to give away a TV. We're just going to choose one person at random. Right now, we're up to a 55-inch flat screen smart TV. If we have another 5 or 6 orders, I'm going to bump that up to either a 65 or 70-inch flat screen TV delivered right to your door. So yeah, get over there, place your orders now. And now let's go back to this horse shit.
What you propose.
The link's in your chat, by the way.
Isn't shielding the wealthiest people in this nation and corporations. People at Augie and Ray's in East Hartford are not fooled by this. And they understand what the agenda is. You place us further in debt and leave us with little else to do to help the people who need it the most. And what is this a guise for? Cutting what you call entitlements. What people in Augie and Ray's know are earned benefits that they pay for every single week out of their paycheck,
Gentlemen's
where they
time,
pay their taxes.
Gentlemen's time has expired. Gentlemen's time has expired. And a reminder to direct your comments to the speaker. Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Nebraska.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman, Ways and Means Committee member, Mr. LaHood from Illinois.
Gentleman from Illinois.
I thank my friend from Nebraska for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of the Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act. This bill defends American taxpayers against an unchecked, supercharged IRS and prioritizes customer service and tax return processing, two of the agency's most important functions. Included in the Democrats' Reckless Inflation Reduction Act this past summer, the IRS received an additional $80 billion in funding, with over half directed towards enforcement.
Here's another question. Isn't this all for theater anyway? Doesn't Congress or doesn't Senate have to agree to this bill? And just in case you forgot, we don't control the Senate. We only control the House in terms of conservatives. Doesn't this have to hit the House as well? And then the president has to sign it into law?
Acceptable. The IRS should
or is this a resolution?
Processing these returns, along with addressing the awful level of customer service currently available to taxpayers. Law-abiding families and small businesses in Illinois need their tax returns processed and phone calls answered, not more IRS agents knocking on their doors with burdensome audits. I urge the adoption of this bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, precisely the point that we've attempted to make. The customer service is not occurring because the IRS has been cut by 30% over the last 15 years. I ask unanimous consent to insert into the record a letter from the IRS Commissioner to the House of Representatives confirming that the IRS will not raise audit rates on those making under $400,000 a year.
Which is
Without
false.
objection.
But real quick, Stargazer asked a question. Why is it that you live in Virginia and I live in Pennsylvania? Check the tracking number. And why is my hoodie coming out of Glendale Heights, Illinois? Because we use a contract printer in Glendale Heights, Illinois.
Without objection.
Very easy. The only items we print here are the ones that go in the patriotic boxes, or when we do T-shirt or anything like that. Everything else is through partner printer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neal, and I appreciate you laid out the facts here. The Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act.
There's no need for a Senate or presidential sign.
The facts are that this legislation will shield tax cheats at the expense of working families. The last time Republicans were in charge, they systematically defunded IRS. The agency lost nearly 20% of its funding, shed more than 20,000 employees, and the audit rate for millionaires dropped 70%. And we heard one of our Republican colleagues.
John, do you want it to say defund the IRS on the back? Because I can't do it over the zipper. It doesn't allow me to. I could do it on the back with the Pure Truth logo on the front, or just small where it says defund.
$187 billion in revenue. This bill, if enacted, would add to the deficit $114 billion because it is misguided and misdirected and wrong. I strongly urge the rejection of this legislation and enforcement of the laws for everybody.
Expired. Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Nebraska.
Mr. Speaker, I now yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Tennessee and a member of the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Kustoff.
Gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you. And I thank the gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of the Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act. This new Republican majority is focused on protecting taxpayers and small businesses from overreach and abuse. Blocking the Biden administration from unleashing 87,000 new IRS agents on taxpayers is a crucial first step towards fulfilling our commitment to America. This legislation will prohibit the IRS from using new funds to target lower and middle class families and small businesses with more burdensome and intrusive audits. As households grapple with the struggling economy, the last thing they need is more harassment from a supercharged IRS. Republicans are unified in our effort to bring economic relief to Americans, not more government overreach and hardship. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation and stop the administration's weaponizing of the IRS. Thank you, and I yield back.
Reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Pasquale,
Why is he yelling?
who is sure to offer clarity to this important issue.
Shut up.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
I rise in rigorous opposition to this short-sighted bill, but thank you for allowing us the opportunity to lay the facts on the table.
On the table!
I mean, it's stunning that you peddled, those falsehoods, and you seek at the same time to add $114 billion to the deficit. The chairman said it. Everybody said it.
It's stunning!
Republican budget cuts have left the IRS with 2,284 fewer skilled auditors to keep wealthy taxpayers
The
from
Fund the
cheating
IRS zip
than it
up
had in
is now live.
1954. That makes
That quick.
no sense. You know what's
Links
more
in the chat.
complicated? We tax.
As a reminder, while this moron is speaking, some important news. If you go to puretruthcoffee.com, the link's in the chat, you buy a hoodie, you add a mug, any mug of your choosing, to the cart, the mug is free. If you add a tumbler, the tumbler is 50% off. Plus, you have a chance to win a 55-inch flat screen smart TV. However, hopefully it appears that that's going to be going up to a 65 or 70-inch flat screen TV that we'll give away tomorrow morning.
It's growing.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you, Mr.
I know he
Chairman.
was doing a lot of hand movements.
Gentleman
Like
reserves.
Bernie.
Gentleman from Nebraska.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Oklahoma and a member of the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Hearn.
Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague from Nebraska for yielding time. Mr. Speaker, on March 1st, 2022, President Biden made a promise to the American people during the State of the Union address before a joint session of Congress. I was sitting in this room as the president stated, in quote, "Under my plan, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in new taxes. Nobody," end quote. Mr. Speaker, the president lied to us all because in August of 22, CBO confirmed that the Democrats' Inflation Reduction Act, which supercharges the IRS with 87,000 new agents, will in fact lead to more audits and enforcement measures and higher taxes for families making less than $400,000 a year. In fact, the CBO confirmed that lower and middle income taxpayers would see as many as 710,000 more audits. Americans are suffering under harmful inflation caused by the irresponsible fiscal policy from President Biden and our congressional Democrats. The last thing the American people need is burdensome IRS audits. I urge my colleagues to vote yes on this bill to make Joe Biden's promise come true. I yield back.
A reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
So people in the chat said that if they pass this bill, it doesn't go to the Senate or the president, which I don't understand how that works. Can someone explain how that works, if that's even true?
Mr. Speaker.
I thought it had to go through the Senate
This may be the beginning
first.
of a new year, but we're back to the same old thoughts, ideas, and practices. Protect the wealthy, disadvantage the poor. We need a tax system that is fair. We need the skilled auditors who can look at the more complex returns of the wealthy taxpayers and make sure that they're paying their fair share. There's no doubt that this is a sham. Vote this down because it takes away opportunity for fairness in our tax system. We need the auditors, and I yield back.
The legislative branch controls spending.
The gentleman from Massachusetts reserves.
One bill
Gentleman
goes
from
to the
Nebraska.
president for signature.
Mr. Speaker, very briefly, I want to point out that the Biden administration is not giving us all of the information. Secretary Yellen said that the IRS will not raise audit rates for taxpayers making less than $400,000, quote, relative to historic levels. What does historic levels really mean? I ask for unanimous consent for the record to submit a CBO blog post from 2021 examining the Biden administration.
Optimus Prime said, if you get your gold tonight, you have to wear a suit with a bow tie. No, that's if we did 1,000 hoodies, and we are so far away from that happening. We are very far away from that happening.
Without objection.
I think
Mr.
maybe
Speaker, now
we've
you
done
have 1 minute to the gentlewoman from West
50
Virginia, and a
hoodies
member of
over the
Ways and
past
Means
couple of
Committee.
days.
Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mr.
Gentlelady from West Virginia is
And I thank the
recognized.
gentleman from Nebraska. I rise in support of the Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act.
The shipping
last
is
2
automatic,
years under
John, whatever
Democrat
it
rule
says,
have
because it comes
resulted
from
in
2
terrible
printers.
policies and more unnecessary taxes for the American people. Americans have been feeling the weight of destructive policies since their first day in power, and now it's time for our Republican majority to fix this mess. The pressure on American taxpayers has continued to increase since the passage of the so-called inflation.
This is not on the new rules, guys. That's already done. The new rules are already in place. This is the IRS bill, and I'll tell you which one. This is the IRS bill that Republicans were promising, H.R. 23, to rescind certain balances made available to the Internal Revenue Service. Oh, wait, so this is a rule. No, this is a House resolution. So why doesn't it show it? That's fucking stupid. So, here, hold on. I'm going to look it up. I'll look it up real quick.
Americans who already pay more than their fair share. This is unacceptable and must be reversed. Through the Inflation Reduction Act, Democrats used the tools of the IRS as a means to increase reckless spending. Yield back.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. I'll note the gentleman has 16 minutes left, and the gentleman from Massachusetts has 17 and a half minutes left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, the
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you. The individual's knowledge of the economic system in America is unsurpassed. The gentleman from New York, Congressman Higgins, for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr.
Gentleman
Chairman.
from New York's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, Charles Rettig, the former IRS
It does go to
commissioner,
the House.
said early last year he was appointed by
Or it does
the
go
Trump
to the Senate.
administration. He said that the United States is losing $1 trillion in unpaid taxes every year. He said the agency lacks the resources to catch tax cheats. Most of the unpaid taxes, he said, are a result of evasion.
Wait, so if this goes to the House, why are they even doing it? Because it's not. Or if this goes to the Senate's not going to pass it. The Democrats control the Senate. It's not going to pass. I'm confused.
Asking my colleagues to join me in rejecting this legislation to protect working families that play by the rules.
So is this just for show?
Every day.
Because they don't think it's going to pass the Senate. Couldn't they just
Gentleman
table
reserves.
this?
Gentleman from
Schumer,
Nebraska.
couldn't he just table
Mr.
it?
Speaker, I now yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Steele.
I'm confused.
Gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of the Family and Small Business Taxpayers Protection Act, and I'm proud to co-lead this important legislation with my friend Congressman Adrian Smith from Nebraska. As millions of American families across the country struggle to afford basic goods from food to fuel, in large part thanks to the inflation brought on by the absurd spending blowouts of the last 2 years, the very last thing that taxpayers need is a bloated and weaponized IRS. Unfortunately, that is exactly what they got when the administration rammed through $80 billion to hire 87,000 new IRS agents to harass
This isn't the rules
and spy
anymore, guys.
on middle class and low income families, with most of 1.2 new additional audits. The agency needs reform and modernization, but that's not what these bills and taxpayers' dollars did. Of the $80 billion, only $3.2 billion was set aside for taxpayer services. Meanwhile, new audits and enforcement got $45 billion. The IRS's job is to serve taxpayers, not target them.
Hold on. I will
That's
in 1
why
second,
we must
Cashley.
pass today's bill.
I'll send you the link in just a second. I'm tracking someone down real quick because they annoyed me. And I'm trying to find them. But I'm not seeing them yet. Oh, I found you. Gary's Place. Fuck you! You're hidden. He said, get educated. Some of us went to school and learned this. Well, guess what? You got educated and banned, shithead. Got him.
In government agencies to cripple small businesses and employees.
I had to work hard to find him, though.
I urge all my colleagues to support an accountable government and a strong economy to vote yes on this legislation to empower American families, support small businesses, and protect taxpayers.
Gentlelady's time has
Thank you,
expired.
and I yield back.
The link's in the chat.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The challenge that was offered by the gentlelady from California is as simple as this. We're weaponizing billionaires not to pay their fair share. That's what's happening. What we're asking here is the simplicity of allowing people at the very top to pay their fair share. I want to recognize the very capable gentlelady from Alabama, Congressman Sewell, a valued member of the Ways and Means Committee.
Gentlelady from Alabama is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise
For how
to...
much? Pardon me. For how much time is the gentlelady recognized?
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlelady is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak against H.R. 23. The funding provided through the Inflation Reduction Act is an important step to address the lack of resources for the IRS so that they can do their job. How many of us have called the IRS and been on the phone waiting for hours only to be told that you were being transferred to yet another department and also continue to be waiting? Over the past year, the IRS has already been cut by 15%, and more cuts means more delays and lack of services for our constituents. As Representative Neal said, the IRS failed to collect over $500 trillion last year alone because of lack of resources, lack of compliance, and targeting of those people who are less fortunate. Through the EIT compliance, they have been hurt. Mr. Speaker, this is about tax compliance. This is also about racial equity and fairness. Historically, African Americans have been disproportionately audited by the IRS due to their claims of EIT. I ask for fairness and equity in this and ask my colleagues to vote no against this bill.
I knew that was coming.
Reserves. Gentleman from Nebraska.
Mr. Speaker, I now yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Utah, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we begin the work to reform our government to work better for the American people and not against them. So what do I mean by that? The last 2 years, Democrats have had control of the White House and Senate, and they have passed and attempted historic spending provisions. But in order to do that, you have to raise revenue. And this bill became a ploy to leverage the IRS to be able to essentially do that without directly raising taxes. That's what we're talking about here. I represent thousands of IRS employees. They're some of the best, most hardworking people in my entire district. And as I talk to them, they care about two major things: customer service, and the technology needs to be improved. And that's what I love about this bill, because that keeps that in here. And we actually want to focus our spending to be able to directly support them. And so as we put forth this bill, we are sincerely trying to take what all of our constituents have been saying. We need the IRS to have more support on customer service and technology. And that's why I urge everybody to vote yes on this bill. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, a very capable member of the Ways and Means Committee is the gentlelady from California, Congresswoman Chu, who I recognize for 1 minute.
Gentlelady from California is recognized.
I rise in strong opposition to this bill. It is telling that the very first bill that the new Republican majority brought to the floor aims to protect wealthy tax cheats from following the law. For a decade, Republicans succeeded in stripping the IRS of the resources it needs to serve the American people. And the result has been frustrating and harmful to workers and families, but it's certainly fantastic for wealthy tax cheats who unfairly kept up to $1 trillion from the IRS every year. Congressional Democrats reversed this trend when we passed the Inflation Reduction Act. Now the IRS will finally have the resources it needs to properly audit wealthy taxpayers and corporations with complex returns and ensure that average Americans don't have to wait hours on the phone to fix problems. Americans deserve an IRS that fulfills its most basic duty to ensure all taxpayers and corporations follow the law and pay their fair share in taxes. Vote no on this bill.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Tenney.
Gentlelady from New York is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support of the Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act. I am a small manufacturing business owner, and I've also worked as a tax attorney, so I know firsthand the kind of power that the IRS has over our small business owners and lower and middle income taxpayers. Last year, to fund their left-wing agenda, the Democrats in Congress decided to spend your hard-earned tax dollars on 87,000 new IRS agents, making the IRS the size nearly of the U.S. Marine Corps. The Biden administration claims these agents will not set their sights on hardworking Americans. The facts reveal the opposite. The Democrats claim these new audits will only affect Americans making over $400,000. The facts prove otherwise. However, the investment of $80 billion, with over $40 billion being spent for enforcement, this will exact just a fraction of the revenue they hope to get to fund their spending sprees. The American taxpayers deserve better. The truth is their plan will target hardworking middle and lower income taxpayers. The CBO agrees, and a release finding that says additional agents will lead to as many as 700,000 more audits, Americans making less than $75,000 a year. The core principle of our system is innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent, as the IRS attempts to do. I encourage my colleagues to vote for H.R. 23.
Time has expired. Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me recognize a very capable member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentlelady from Wisconsin, Congresswoman Moore, for 1 minute.
Gentlelady from Wisconsin is recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to strongly oppose this misnamed Republican bill, which purports to protect families and small businesses, but instead continues the unrelenting effort to starve the IRS. The only Americans that this protects are tax cheats. And what's up with this conversation about how many agents are going to be added? The IRS has fewer agents today than it had in 1953, and our economy is 7 times larger, and our population is more than doubled since then. The characterization of the IRS as a militant government agency deployed to harass willing small business America is a flagrant lie. Our voluntary tax system depends on our taxpayers trusting that it works fairly. So we need to ensure that the IRS can examine complex tax avoidance strategies of well-heeled individuals and businesses, period. To do that, we need to help the agency modernize and transition away from decades-old technology. And we must support the agency's capacity to effectively administer a range of crucial tax benefits. I urge my colleagues to vote no.
Gentlelady's time has expired. Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Indiana, Ms. Sparks.
Gentlewoman from Indiana is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I want to clarify what exactly this bill is doing. Last year, Congress gave an additional $80 billion to the IRS on top of $12 billion of existing funding, which increased the IRS budget by almost 8 times. This bill still keeps almost $10 billion in additional funding to modernize IRS, which is still almost doubling their $12 billion budget, but eliminates over $70 billion of wasteful and egregious aggression against the American taxpayer by the federal government. As someone who spent over a decade in public accounting and also started my own businesses, I never felt that we don't have enough government. On the contrary, I hear the same message when I go all across my district. Small businesses and entrepreneurs have a hard time surviving. I hope my Democrat colleagues will also support this common sense adjustment to relieve the undue burden on American families. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me yield 1 minute to the very capable gentleman from Michigan, Congressman Kildee.
Gentleman from Michigan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to Mr. Neal for yielding. The Inflation Reduction Act was a huge step toward lowering health care costs and energy costs for families all across the country, creating jobs in my home state of Michigan. It was fully paid for, making sure the biggest corporations and the wealthiest individuals paid their fair share in taxes. This funding for the Internal Revenue Service helps ensure that it has the resources to go after those wealthy taxpayers that are avoiding paying their fair share. It's simply not fair that billionaires like Elon Musk and massive companies like Amazon have paid less in federal income taxes some years than a Bay City teacher, a Saginaw nurse, or a Midland factory worker. Further, the Inflation Reduction Act is helping to fight inflation, bringing down costs for Americans. With this bill, Republicans are trying to roll back these efforts to fight inflation. So a vote against the motion to recommit that I'll offer is a vote against the Inflation Reduction Act. Today, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office said this bill will add $114 billion to the national deficit. This is the first order of business.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I do ask unanimous consent that this amendment be
without objection.
Entered into the record.
Gentleman's time has expired.
To recommit.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Klein.
Gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
This is my rep.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a breakthrough day. Today we begin to deliver real results for the American people by passing legislation to block the Biden administration from unleashing 87,000 new bureaucrats and agents at the IRS on families and small businesses. Last Congress, Democrats voted to supercharge the IRS.
If I run for office,
it's
going to be against
money
this fucking
focused
dude.
on IRS enforcement and hiring more auditors to squeeze taxpayers. And it's not just wealthy Americans. With that expanded audit capacity, the IRS can squeeze more money out of middle and lower income families and small businesses as well. The Democrats' American Rescue Plan called for the IRS to require payment apps like Venmo and PayPal to report Americans who made over $600 in transactions. Imagine what 87,000 new agents will do. Republicans want an IRS that works for taxpayers, not targets them. That's why this bill leaves in place the IRS funding for improvements to customer service and technology. Because Americans demand and deserve a government that's accountable not to the powerful but to the people, repealing funding for Biden's army of auditors is a great first step in the right direction. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Virginia, a very successful businessman and entrepreneur, Congressman Byer, for 1 minute.
Gentleman from Virginia.
The land of the free zip-up hoodie. It's going to be a little bit. I can't do it tonight.
Legislation. The bill before us will cut the necessary investments to make the IRS more responsive to regular people, improve customer service, and work through the IRS backlog. And in exchange for making the IRS less responsive to the people, the bill is going to add $114 billion to the deficit, according to the CBO. And why? My Republican friends want us to believe that a horde of 87,000 armed federal agents are ready to kick in your doors for tax enforcement. This is a total nonsense, a fantasy, a fabrication that has been fact-checked over and over again and always found false. The real reason passing this bill is to protect wealthy tax cheats like the former president from having their tax returns scrutinized.
They always got to bring
The richest
Trump
1%
in.
avoid paying $100 billion every year because we don't fund the IRS. Republicans' first priority
Isn't
is to
he
help
a
the
car
very rich
salesman
evaders
guy? Isn't
at
it
the
Bayer
tax evaders
Chevrolet?
at the expense of their own regular American constituents. I urge you to vote against this misguided legislation and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, may I inquire how much time we have remaining?
The gentleman from Nebraska has 10 minutes remaining.
Thank you, Mr.
The
Speaker.
gentleman from Massachusetts has
He
11
sells
minutes
cars.
remaining.
He's a fucking fucking car dealer. He wants to talk about credibility. He runs car dealerships.
Pennsylvania's recognized.
Thank you. I thank my friend from Nebraska. The idea, Mr. Speaker, of hiring 87,000 new IRS agents to close the tax gap is misguided. I served as Revenue Secretary for the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We did, in fact, close the tax gap through what proved to be very effective measures. These included improving IT systems and processes which truly determined tax evasion from tax avoidance, largely taking the easy approach of hiring 87,000 new agents, doubling the size of the IRS. I don't know who thinks that's a good idea. Does not improve the quality of information used to accomplish the goal of collecting all tax revenues that are due. It will only increase the number of audits, most often on innocent small businesses and individuals. As well, the CBO projection of $186 billion of increased revenue was established before the administration said that only those above $400,000 in income would be audited. Currently, nearly 90% of the audits are conducted on small businesses and those making less than $400,000. So how can you make a projection when your targeted audience is reduced by 90%? This is an absolutely flawed plan that will do nothing but increase the size of government, increase audits on law-abiding businesses, and fail to achieve its intended results. It's big government at its worst. According to the CBO, the hiring of these new IRS agents will also cause audit rates to rise on all taxpayers. A bipartisan analysis found that this increase in funding would result in 1.2 million more audits. 700,000 of them will target taxpayers making $75,000 or less. The new IRS agents will not be targeting wealthy tax cheats as the claim that will tax everyday Americans.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman reserves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me recognize a very distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from Philadelphia, Congressman Evans, for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to this legislation that will cut major investment in IRS, will help American taxpayers receiving benefits earn their benefits.
What the fuck did he? Is this Joe Biden? What is he
cutting
saying?
IRS funding to protect American Republicans, wealthy and corporate investors. It is important to understand that I urge my colleagues to reject the Republican tax cheat.
How did they get elected, bro?
That this is politics above people. The reality is this is not about people. This is really all about politics.
Damn, how much has he drank today?
The chairman who's led this effort throughout the Ways and Means Committee and the importance of the investment in IRS. And I say to you, I stand today and I encourage people to say no. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yo, he's got to be drinking.
Gentleman reserves.
Can they get breathalyzers
recognized
on the House floor? That's what I would do.
Mr. Speaker,
If I
now
was
yield
speaker.
1 minute to the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Grossman.
I'd give breathalyzers before you
Well, I have a
speak.
very high opinion of the gentleman from Massachusetts. But what scares me on this bill are the numbers. Okay, right now the IRS has about 78,000 employees.
I can't
of which
do the
about
land of the
10,000
free
are
and
what they
zipper
describe
today.
as agents.
I don't even know where that
It's
design
not
is.
surprising
Hold
that
on,
it's
let me
less than
see.
you had in 1954, because in 1954 everything was computerized, right? Or nothing was computerized. Now the 1099s, the W-2s, they come in and automatically the computers show whether they're on your return or not. And if they're not on the return, you get a letter from the IRS saying you owe X and X amount of money. But now we're going in one bill from 78,000 employees, adding additional 83,000. We have no idea how many of those are going to be agents poking around looking at people, but you've got to figure it's going to be an increase of 5 or 6 times to what they already have. Wisconsin and Massachusetts have states about the same size. You're talking about adding 1,600 employees, assuming it's the same per capita, about 1,600 new employees to Massachusetts and Wisconsin. What are they going to do with 1,600 new employees? I mean, it's just, I can't imagine.
He sounds like he's been drinking.
They deal with you, they do things like, well, you owe $20,000, you got to find a lawyer to fight that.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you, thank you.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think part of that new recruiting class at the IRS, they're going to simply answer the phones. That would be a helpful step in the right direction. Let me yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Illinois who really knows something about compliance purposes, the CPA, and gentleman from Illinois for 1 minute, Congressman Snyder.
Gentleman from Illinois is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to urge my colleagues to oppose this bill because it not only increases our national deficit by $114 billion, but it does so by helping the wealthiest avoid paying taxes and transfers that burden onto the backs of hardworking Americans and small businesses who follow the law and pay their taxes on time. Here's my question. Why, on their very first day legislating with their new majority, with their very first bill, is the top Republican priority rewarding tax cheats with what is estimated to be nearly $200 billion in uncollected taxes over the next 10 years? $200 billion in taxes not paid by the wealthiest, meaning additional debt for everyone else. The Inflation Reduction Act dedicated $46 billion to enforcement to make sure corporations and wealthy individuals pay the taxes they owe. Not new taxes, not higher rates, simply ensuring everyone pays what they owe. I urge my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to oppose this outrageous tax scam, and I yield back my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Nebraska.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Fallon.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak in favor of H.R. 23, which would defund the $80 billion from the Inflation Reduction Act, or as I call it, the Inflation Enhancement Act.
Inflation?
Thereby, we need to defund the
Are they all drunk? What is going on
new
here?
IRS agents, which would, in effect, double the agency. Nary A1. Now, one of my constituents has asked to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. But they have asked me, in fact, countless have asked, can we hire 87,000 new Border Patrol agents, Pat? Because there's a crisis and a catastrophe at our southern border. The last thing we want is to double an agency that's already bloated and have them with these 87,000 new agents, or in military parlance, 5 new divisions to harass, stalk, and otherwise terrorize law-abiding American citizens. And who's this going to really kick in the teeth? It's not going to be the wealthy or the poor. It's going to be the small business owners and the middle-class, hardworking Americans. You want to start a new Congress and do it well? This is a great bill, and I urge the passing of H.R. 23, the Small Business and Taxpayer Protection Act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts
Thank you,
is recognized.
Mr. Speaker. A reminder that the 87,000, this is over 10 years. The $80 billion is over 10 years. That's $8 billion a year for replacement of those who retire, who leave the service of the IRS. With that, let me recognize another very capable member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from California, Congressman Panetta, for 1 minute.
Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in opposition to H.R. 23 because our government needs the resources to go after wealthy tax cheats who defraud the government. Because people don't pay their taxes, the federal government is cheated out of at least $400 billion each year. In fact, President Trump's IRS commissioner said that that number could be as high as $1 trillion every year. That significant source of revenue could go to paying our bills, paying down our debt, and propping up the power of our purse. That's exactly why we passed legislation last year that made significant investments to crack down on tax cheats. Now, that funding will not be used for families or small business making less than $400,000. Instead, it will be used to go after those who have the wealth to pay their taxes but don't, or those who can pay for armies of accountants to get out of paying for what they should. H.R. 23 rescinds that funding and for that type of needed enforcement, and that's why I oppose it. Because our government should have the resources necessary to ensure that it's not just the middle class that pays our bills and pays our debt, but the wealthy tax dodgers who pay their taxes. Just like the play-by-the-rules, hardworking Americans. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
I ask for unanimous consent to submit for the record a CBO post from 2021 examining the Biden administration's $80 billion proposal and stating that CBO projects the proposal would make the IRS's budget more than 90% larger than it is in CBO's July 2021 baseline projections and would more than double the IRS's staffing.
Without objection.
I now yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Maliotakis.
Gentlelady from New York is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, at a time when we should be tightening our belts, Democrats plan to spend $80 billion on 87,000 IRS agents, doubling the size of the department, and this is meant to nickel and dime audit and harass America's small businesses and families who they know cannot afford the legal fees to fight this army. 87,000 IRS agents, when we only have 20,000 Border Patrol agents in an unprecedented crisis with terrorists, convicted criminals, and illegal immigrants crossing in addition to fentanyl. 5,000, we only have 5,000 drug enforcement agents to stop traffickers who are peddling this poison to our kid, the #1 killer of young Americans. 87,000 IRS agents is more than twice the size of the FBI and more than the entire staff of the Department of Justice. We know that our colleagues on the other side love taxes, they love spending, they love big government, and they love bureaucracy, but the American people don't. And that is why we should be voting yes on this legislation today.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Gomez, for 1 minute. Not only a very capable member of the committee, but last week, during those 4 days here of utter chaos, he carried that child around this chamber, and during those 4 days, I think the child grew by 2 inches. That's how long we were there.
Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2017, Republicans handed out tax breaks for the largest corporations and the ultra wealthy, including Donald Trump, who paid 0 federal income tax in 2020 and left the presidency without a single audit. What we were trying to do was make it a fairer tax system where the ultra wealthy were actually paying their fair share, which, as we saw through just the simple release of those tax returns for the President of the United States, that there were some years he paid zero. And he was less likely to be audited than somebody on the getting the earned income child tax credit. So this is something that we need to fight against. We should. We want to make sure that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle understand that it's not just about the ultra wealthy. It's about working class Americans. And it's a shame that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle care more about, those who have higher income, those who can hire lawyers that can get them out of paying taxes. But we should really have a tax system that benefits everybody. With that, I yield back.
The gentleman reserves with 7 minutes left. The gentleman from Nebraska has 5.5 minutes left. Gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. De La Cruz.
Gentlelady from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am proud to stand here today as a single mother and a small business owner in support of the Family and Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act. One of the most outrageous provisions in the Democrats' hyperpartisan Inflation Reduction Act was giving the IRS $72 billion to hire an additional 87,000 agents. Look, the hiring of 87,000 new IRS agents only squeezes American taxpayers, including small business owners like myself, the backbone of our communities. And my colleagues on the other side, let me tell you this. I live and work and now represent a border district that houses a border patrol sector. They need feet on the ground. They have the same amount of agents on the ground as compared to 3 years ago. Why are you fighting that hard for these agents? Now, the Biden administration will tell you that they've increased agents, but they've only increased agents in the processing and administration, which ultimately has led to the mental health deterioration.
Gentlelady's time has expired.
The American people deserve a government that works for them, not against them. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentlelady's time's expired. Reminder for all members to direct their comments to the chair. Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, let me recognize the gentlelady from Texas for 1 minute, Ms. Jackson Lee.
Gentlelady from Texas.
Not do that. Hey, you guys know we're doing a giveaway tonight, right? All you got to do is go and purchase anything from our store. We prefer that you use the following link that's in your chat right now, right there. Bam. Purchase a sweatshirt. And then before you check out, go and choose a mug of your choosing under a gear, and then it says mugs. And the mug is free if you have a sweatshirt in your cart. Or if you like tumblers, with the purchase of a sweatshirt, a tumbler is 50% off. So go and do that, and then you're entered in for a chance to win a 55-inch flat screen television. And I was trying to not make this a big infomercial while still single-handedly saving you from listening to this dumbass person, because you know what she's doing right now. She's doing Black Lives Matter this, Donald Trump that, MAGA this, QAnon that. Here, watch.
To create tax cheats. This legislation is deserving of opposition because we as Democrats are trying to make the IRS work for working families, get their refunds, get their dollars, help them propel into the next year, and be better for the monies that they deserve to get back. Vote no on the underlying legislation.
We missed most of it,
Gentleman
so that's
reserves,
good.
Gentleman from Nebraska.
Mr.
Recognized.
Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Lawler.
Gentleman from New York is recognized.
It was. I was opening a beer.
Only in Washington
A
can
root
one
beer.
defend doubling the size of the IRS
No caffeine.
and spending $80
I gotta
billion
go to bed.
to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. According to my friends across the aisle, that's a good thing.
Does that work with the Patriot Bundle? No. If you order a Patriot Bundle, you get a bunch of stuff anyway. You get a mug, you get our new tactical hat, you get a ton of new patches, you get a bag of the fiery but peaceful, you get 2 t-shirts, you get all sorts of stuff, a book, all delivered in an ammo can. So you can get that. Here, I'll put that link in the chat too, because I may be able to send those out this week because I'm doing pretty good at keeping up on everything. That's under the bundles tab, and then Patriotic as F bundle. We ship these once a week, but I'm pretty on track with them, so I'll be shipping them soon. All right, but there you go.
Cut taxes. We need to reduce the cost of living and make it more affordable for our hardworking families. I proudly support this legislation and urge all of my colleagues to vote yes and end the 87,000 new IRS agents that are going to terrorize hardworking Americans.
Gentleman's time's expired. Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is
Thank you,
recognized.
Mr. Speaker. Let me recognize the gentleman from California, a CPA, I believe, Mr. Sherman, for 1 minute.
Gentleman from California is recognized.
Sarita. Oh, look, he brought a graph. Woohoo! The fire. Wrong button.
For 3 days and 3 long nights, every class of Republican came to this floor to argue about which of them hated the national debt more. And now, as the first thing, they bring forth a bill that will increase the national debt by $1.6 trillion, according to 6 bipartisan secretaries of the Treasury. Working people can't evade taxes. They get W-2s and 1099s. Republicans support this bill because every time a billionaire successfully cheats on his taxes, a member of the Freedom Caucus earns his wings. As co-chair of the bipartisan CPA caucus and former head of the second largest tax agency in America, I'll say we need staff to put the service back into the Internal Revenue Service. 1 employee for every 2,000 tax returns filed. That's the staffing level that Ronald Reagan insisted upon. It's the level Democrats would restore. Trump took outrageous positions on his returns and counted on a light audit, whereas Ronald Reagan paid his taxes and staffed the IRS. Don't make honest taxpayers feel like suckers. Stand with Ronald Reagan and vote no.
All right. Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise with concern about some of these points that have been raised. I think we've heard it from both sides that IRS is not answering the phone like they should to actually serve the taxpayers who want to do the right thing. It's conceivable that there would be taxpayers overpaying as well because of the complexity in the tax code. And yet, the record shows over the years that there have been innocent taxpayers who already paid what they owed, were still audited, and were considered guilty until they proved themselves innocent. But that, to me, is a huge problem. We just heard that there's concern about the debt, and yet the answer is just more government employees. In fact, more than double of what the current number of employees are. I have huge concerns about that, and that's why I think we need to vote for this bill, get the president and the Senate to agree to this, and work together to focus on customer service issues that everyone knows are a concern at the IRS. So I hope that, again, this use of technology can really lead the way with a goal of customer service rather than just hiring more full-time equivalent employees that I don't think will actually result in the efficiencies that some are claiming that would supposedly raise the revenue that it would. I just think we need to adopt this bill, get this passed, and come together after that, realizing that we can and should expect the IRS to do better. I reserve.
Reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased my friend, the gentleman from Nebraska, pointed out that the presidential audit system, Joe Biden overpaid his taxes. I hope the record will reflect that the Democratic president overpaid his taxes and the IRS wisely made sure that he had the proper refund. With that, let me recognize the gentlelady from Ohio for 1 minute, the longest serving woman in the history of Congress, Ms. Kaptur.
I want to thank the able ranking member.
Gentlelady from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to this Republican green light to tax cheaters, billionaires and giant corporations that do not pay their fair share of taxes. The average working person in our country pays a rate of about 25%. Billionaires pay under 5%. Every citizen and corporation should take a pledge of allegiance to pay their fair share of taxes. But Amazon, Chevron, AIG, and even Coca-Cola shirk their duty to liberty. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Charles Koch prosper under liberty's flag, but cheat on their taxes. In what world is it fair that those in the top brackets can cheat the system while hardworking Americans pay their fair share every day? I can assure you, staff in our offices have answered over 1,000 calls since 2020 because the IRS doesn't have enough agents to do the job. Properly funding the IRS will ensure that we'll help to reduce the deficit and that average Americans get answers and help, and tax cheaters will finally pay their fair share. I ask unanimous consent to place a longer list of tax cheaters in the record, and I yield back.
Without objection. Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, Speaker, I'm prepared to close when the majority is ready.
And Mr. Speaker,
gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Nebraska.
I'm prepared to. I reserve, but I'm prepared to close as well.
The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This has been an edifying debate. But as Harry Truman noted, let's just talk about the facts. Let's debunk the argument that we're hiring 87,000 armed IRS agents to go knocking on doors in the middle of the night. This is a substantial investment in technology. This is a substantial investment in customer service. And yes, the $80 billion is over 10 years. That's $8 billion a year to improve customer service. That's what we're talking about. At least 8,000 agents retire from the IRS every year. We're simply replacing them. You know, in our school systems back home, when 200 teachers retire, we replace 200 teachers. That's what we're doing here with the IRS. To make this preposterous argument that all of a sudden next week 87,000 armed, because you always have to use the language that's incendiary enough to get people worked up around here, that 87,000 armed agents in the dark of night will be hounding innocent taxpayers, despite what Janet Yellen said about no taxpayer making under $400,000 a year is going to be targeted.
But we all know that's bullshit.
Mr. Rosati, the IRS commissioner, not me, he said at least $574 billion a year goes uncollected, a Democrat. A Republican IRS commissioner, Mr. Reddick, who we worked with, he said it might be $1 trillion a year that goes uncollected. A Donald Trump appointee who stated that and raised that issue a number of times in front of the Ways and Means Committee. Let me make a point that I raised earlier. Tax compliance in a representative democracy is a fundamental commitment to civilization and first-class services. So by not collecting this revenue, are we going to say down the road, well, maybe we'll cut Social Security? Maybe we'll cut Medicare. Of course, maybe we'll cut Medicaid. Or maybe we'll cut the American military. Now, we all know that in this discussion that the facts are very clear here. They've been upset with the IRS for a long period of time. We all remember the Lois Lerner episode. Even though the facts in that case pointed out that the advocates on the right and the left were audited at the same rate. That's a fact. So as we close this argument out, let's stand up for the honest taxpayers in America and make sure that the IRS that currently cracks down on the EITC will be able to actually address some of the complexities of modern tax law, which we all agree, by the way, the system is far too complex, but I've been through that argument many times here as well. This fear-mongering that you're hearing tonight about upgrading the technology and software investments at the IRS for the purposes of modeling for better tax compliance is just that. It's fear-mongering. All we want is a set of rules that is applicable to all as it relates to tax collection. This is not anything other than simply suggesting that there's a fairness that is applied to the Internal Revenue Service so that they might address and make sure that those at the very top are complying with the same laws we ask the wage earners through withholding to address every single day. And thanks for a spirited debate, Mr. Speaker, and to our friends on the other side.
Nebraska is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the conversation that we can have here. I think there is fundamental disagreement on what the real solutions need to be. Although I think there's agreement that the current customer service at the IRS is significantly underperforming. Now, in 2019, in a bipartisan fashion, we passed the Taxpayer First Act. In fact, the highly respected colleague, the late Representative John Lewis, led the way on that as well. This was about customer service and reform at the IRS. Were there benefits from that? COVID got in the way. I think that does actually beg the question of what have been the impacts of COVID on customer service at the IRS. Mr. Speaker, I'm concerned that when there are resources afforded the IRS, they're just not used the way they can and should be, especially as it relates to customer service and the honest taxpayers that my colleague from Massachusetts references. That we want to do everything we can for when the American people are doing the right thing for the right reasons and abiding by the law, and yet they would still be exposed to having to prove themselves again after they already did with voluntary tax compliance. But here comes an audit, and I vividly recall the fact that in the 90s, IRS as an agency overstepped. In fact, I believe it was President Clinton that even pulled back the IRS somewhat because they were going after law-abiding, tax-paying Americans who already did everything they were supposed to do. So that certainly establishes my concern about why we would take legislation, why we would see legislation passed last year that would pretty randomly put forward funding that I think will ultimately get in the way of these tax-paying Americans who, like I said, already did everything they were supposed to do, but yet they have to incur the expense. I urge the passage of this bill for good public policy. Thank you. I yield back.
All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 5, the previous question is ordered on the bill. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
To rescind certain balances made available to the Internal Revenue Service.
All right. For what purpose does the gentleman from Michigan seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
The clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Kildee moves to recommit the bill, H.R. 23, to the Committee on Ways and Means.
Pursuant to Clause 2B of Rule 19, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The motion is not agreed to.
Yes, we have the yeas and nays, Mr. Speaker.
Yeas and nays are ordered. The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the Chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the Chair.
Well, so now they're back in recess. You know what's really annoying is that all these politicians are not in there actually working. You would think that they would be there, you know, seeing how it's their fucking job. But they're all probably in their office, or they're at the congressional bar. Is there a congressional bar? I could only assume there is. Because now they're adjourning to get everybody, because they ordered the yeas and nays, so now everybody has to go in and cast their vote, and blah, 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 and they'll come back in like 5 hours, and then they'll say this is a 5-minute vote, and then it will last for approximately an hour and a half, and then they'll vote on other things. But again, this is just a show, you know, just like someone said in the chat earlier, and I surmised, this bill would still need to pass the Senate, and then it would need to pass that, the president's desk. There's no fucking way. Because the Senate is Democrat controlled, and then of course Joe Biden is an idiot. He's the president of the United States. Don't get me wrong, but the guy is not. He's missing a few Q-tips. He's got a few bolts loose in his screws. I'm butchering it on purpose because it's funny, but yeah. I really think a lot of those sitting members of Congress were intoxicated. I would like to be intoxicated right now, just for fun. But if you order a tumbler, are you still entered for the TV? No, it's any order from the store. So any order, whether it's I would prefer people do the hoodie / mug or tumbler or a Patriot box. Because basically what I'm trying to do is get our sales to be record numbers as many days this month as I can, because it will allow me. I have some big ambitions, okay, and I'm reinvesting every bit of money that we make into the company. Where buying the stock for the store, getting the store open and running, and I would like to start roasting our own beans. Currently, right now, we partner with the oldest roastery in America. They roast for us to order. They send it to us. We package. We're not USDA. We're a Department of Agriculture certified facility at our store now. So we package and label all of our coffee there, seal it all up, and then we send it out or sell it in store in Woodstock. But I would like to buy an Air coffee roaster. And it's pretty expensive. I can get like an entry level one for like 10 grand. But so that's what I want to try to do. I want to use 5,000. So I want to make $20,000. So I want to use 10 grand for the roaster, $5,000 for the prototype that we're building for the portable kitchen, thing that I talked about once. And I'm waiting on the patent stuff to come back. So I'm not talking about that anymore until we get that patent. And then the rest just for the store and to get that store fully stocked up, But I was working in the store yesterday. Tomorrow, I couldn't go today because I, had to drop my kids off and all that stuff at school because the little guy was sick. So tomorrow I have to go and clean up because I installed the shelf over the coffee makers in the cafe portion of the store. And then I hung the 2 shadow boxes with all the patches that you guys sent me over the years. There's 2 now that are hung, except they're not crooked. They're straight and level, except one of them sits about a half an inch higher than the other. And it pisses me off a lot. So now I got to put stuff on top to make it fit a little bit better. But yeah, if you would like to enter in the chance to win a big screen frickin' TV, the link's in the chat there. You can buy a sweatshirt. If you buy a sweatshirt, don't forget to add a mug to your order because the mug is free. You just choose it. So put the sweatshirt in your cart, click on gear, Go down to mugs and add whatever mug you want because it's free. If you want a tumbler, because you like tumblers instead of mugs, the tumblers are 50% off if you have a sweatshirt in your cart. Also, you can buy our Patriotic as F boxes. I am working to, I'm just waiting on the 20 more ammo cans because I got 3 there. I got to do some sweatshirts. But like I said, tomorrow I got to print sweatshirts if they come in. But I have a fallback because if they don't, I'm going to package all the Patriotic cans. I'm going to package all those boxes without the hoodies and add hoodies to the order and ship them separately tomorrow. So I'll place those orders if I have to, just because I don't want to wait. And I'm on a roll of getting all these orders out on time. So slowly making waves and getting myself unburied here for the orders and coming up with a new system that seems to be working. But Sarah said, have you cleaned your ducts at the pre-owned house since you moved in? Something to consider since y'all get sick frequently. Yeah, we have. So we did that right away when we moved in because both of my kids are severe asthmatics. We get sick from the little guy. The little guy has this, so we went out to dinner. We had a coupon. So we went out to eat at this restaurant. And he brings Matchbox cars and everything with him. And he dropped the Matchbox car on the floor. And then he touches every single thing everywhere. So the kid gets sick quite often. In fact, he's missed 9 days of the first half a year of school, which is, we even got a letter back. And they're like, hey, he's missing a lot of school. But he had the dental surgery, so he was out for 5 days for that. He's had a lot of things. But there's nothing we can do. It's not like our house is clean. This kid is literally, he gets it. And there's a stomach bug going around because I talked to my brother today. My brother had the stomach bug, lasted for just under 24 hours for him as well. And that's what my son had. And my niece has it now. Same thing. Except it was coming out of both ends at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, at least for my kid, he was vomiting first. And then, after a night's sleep, started doing the other one. And he went through 6 pairs of underwear. And my wife throws him away. So now we got to buy more underwear. But, yeah. My kids have, our first house, Derek says he has it now too. It's just a bug. But our first house that we rented in New Jersey, in River Edge, New Jersey, for the older boy, we believe that's why he have asthma, because there was black mold. We actually had to sue the landlord and all sorts of stuff because we discovered black mold in the apartment and he refused to do anything about it. So we actually had to sue him to get out because we moved out and then he wanted us to pay the rent. So we... instead of worrying about getting an eviction or anything like that, we actually filed a lawsuit and won in the state of New Jersey. And he had to pay us for the remainder of our lease, which was, pretty good. And then, and I don't know why the other one has it because we didn't have mold in his house, or in the house that he grew, was born when we were living in. Well, I had severe asthma as a kid too. I kept getting pneumonia. I had to be hospitalized a bunch of times. And then it went away. Both of my kids have really bad asthma. It's just what it is. But, it'll hopefully it goes away. I get sick a lot too. But here's the thing. I'm a big sissy when I get sick. So when I get sick, I'm not really that sick, but I feel like I'm that sick and I turn into a giant baby, a 304-pound whiny baby. Ask my wife. She'll tell you. So if I get a stuffy nose, I'm an a-hole. I don't want to work. It's bad. That's why I'm always sick. When I'm like, I'm taking the day off, I'm not feeling well. That's why. It's because I'm just a baby. If I get a stuffy nose, I'm like, no. For example, I've been sleeping on the couch because I'm also a germaphobe. So my son's super sick. So he's staying with my wife in our bed. And then I sleep on the couch in the living room. And then, of course, I wake up every morning because we're all allergic to our dogs and the bunny that we have. But we adopted the dogs, then found out we were allergic to their dander, so we can't do anything about it. Same thing with the bunny. You adopt the bunny, it's fine until it gets its hair, dander, bullshit all over the place. And then we realize that we're all allergic to it. All the kids. So this morning I was sleeping on the couch and I woke up and my face was all puffed out, eyes welded shut, and it was just because of the dander. My older boy, he's got pretty bad asthma, and the dogs sleep in his bed. And no matter what, they will literally whine until he lets them in. and keep us all up throughout the night. Sometimes we can get it. Like sometimes we'll lock them in the living room, but then they like can't get out in the morning to wake her up to take her out. So then they piss and crap in the house, and it's just crazy. Yeah, my wife doesn't get sick. She does. She has an immune system like a tank. She doesn't get sick. She could sleep right next to a kid that's like caught. You know how like kids when they're sick they like hug on you and stuff. Like today he's feeling a little bit better. And so he runs up to give me a hug, and I'm like, get the fuck away from me, because I don't want to get sick. I already think I got a little, stomach bug going on the lower half. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he doesn't get sick. Hi, I drive trucks. Nikki Poo is the name. Said, you're a sissy when you get sick. Your wife says, Lord, here comes the baby. Yeah, I always am. And I'll fully admit that. My wife knows it too. Because I'll be like, I have a headache. And she's like, oh, no. She's like, fine, just go lay down. Here's some Tylenol, and closes the door to the room. Because she knows I just turn into a baby. And then I call her all the time. I'm like, can you bring me water? And she's like, just get up and get water. And I'm like, oh, I can't. I got a headache. I'm miserable. But you know what I think it is? Because when I was growing up, I didn't have anybody to do that. When I was sick, it's like, go to your room, lock yourself in your phone. Because I was in foster care, so they didn't give a shit about you. So when you got sick then, there was no one to take care of you. Now that I'm an adult, I get sick, and my wife is there to take care of me. And so I use it to my advantage, I suppose. That's some inner psyche bullshit there. But yeah, she pretty much leaves me alone. So that's good. When I'm sick, she tries to sneak NyQuil in your drink and Benadryl. Nice. But yeah, it's a fun thing, just hanging out. All right, so like I said, we are doing a giveaway. This is the last time I mentioned it because I'm going to wrap it for the night. We're doing a giveaway, and it's going to extend up until tomorrow morning when I do the drawing. And I'll email you when you won, and then I'll announce it on social media, just so you know, so everyone will know. But I'll email you because everyone either sent, has to put in an email or an order when you place an order, and we'll go from there. Tomorrow I'll be live. I'm not sure what time because I'm going to be getting all these patriotic as fuck boxes out. And then I got to go to the store and clean up the massive construction mess that I made yesterday because I'm not the most handy fella, I'm not. The store looks pretty good considering how much work I had to do there, to try to save money. But just putting up a 6-foot shelf was a little hairy because I kept missing the studs and all that. And then I bought like the I don't know what they were. These like screw things. You screw them into the wall, right? So you drill a pilot hole into the stud, and then you screw this thing in, and then that's what holds the other screw, like a fastener or whatever. But the fasteners kept breaking, and then I read the instruction, realized I was using an impact drill. You can't do that because it just breaks the damn studs in the wall, and then you got to dig them out with pliers. So there's a couple holes that I got to patch. And then the one thing I can't find anywhere is I need to, I do have a stud finder, I just look in the mirror. Oh, no, I bought a $40 one, a really nice one that works. And I wasn't missing the stud. I was breaking that fastener thing. What was I saying? I was saying something. Someone said it's not your money though. What are you talking about? What was I saying? I lost my train of thought there. But I got the shelf up and it looks okay. Oh, the ceiling tiles. I got to get, for the health department, they said I can open, but I need to get the tiles by the time they come back to do their open inspection. They're flat ceiling tiles. They're hard to get because apparently you got to order them. So, you know what I mean? You got to order them. Who is I think Mr. Iowa Glenn is watching the show from a while ago, and he's having a conversation on YouTube with himself. And he's like an hour behind this right now. So it's very confusing because he's getting mad at the people. And that's why I'm like, what are you talking about, man? We're talking about something different. Someone on Twitter also commented, said, I thought you were done with YouTube. If you've noticed, I'm not I'm not putting any effort into the YouTube. YouTube is not my primary platform. I am going live because there's people that watch on YouTube. It's not my primary platform. If I get banned or I say something, I'm not going to censor myself. And if there is something that I really want to say that I know is against YouTube or whatever, I'll just take it off and I won't go live on YouTube. Rumble is the only platform, and Locals, of course, but Rumbles is the platform where I will always go live on Rumble. I make it a point to make sure I'm live on Rumble, and that is the platform that I prefer everybody watch. But we do have people that just watch YouTube. But I'm not giving an effort. I'm not trying to monetize the videos. If I F up and say something, I'll just delete the video. And I'm not, it just doesn't matter to me anymore. I spent so many years trying to get YouTube to work for me, and it didn't. So, for a while I was like, well, I'll just not stream there anymore. F YouTube. And then I started thinking about the viewers and the people that just prefer to watch on that platform. And there are quite a few. Granted, they're dropping off quick because they're like, Steve, we've been watching you for like 4 hours. Go to bed. Or 3.5 hours. So, like, when I started talking, I was at like 600 live viewers across all platforms. Now I'm at 342. So everyone's like, whatever. They're like, shut up. But anyway, if you guys want to get an order in tonight, you'll be entered in. Get whatever you want. Hoodie, whatever you want to do. I prefer you get a hoodie. Make sure you add your mug. If you don't put a mug in there, there's nothing I can do. You have to add the mug. So if you forget the mug, don't send me an email saying, hey, Steve, I forgot to put a mug. Just send me one. It's not the way it works. You got to follow some simple instructions. Add the mug to your order. The mug is free. Because what they are is they're both printed at different facilities. So I'm not going to have a mug. I'm just not doing it. Because I used to cater to all of that, and I can't do it anymore. Because I need to focus on making sure I get all these orders out and all that stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just me. I'm simplifying things so they work better. And that's why, like, we can flip 50 hoodies in a short amount of time, because I'm not sitting back there printing them all, getting overwhelmed and doing all that stuff. Now they're printed by a better company than even my printing, which is really rare. Because how can you be a better company than me? You can't. Or at least you can't look as good. Whatever. I'm cracking myself up. Stargazer said, what do you have to buy to be eligible? Anything. I prefer you do the hoodie, but anything at this point. Anything. But just don't buy coffee. Just wait to buy the coffee until I get everything all set up. I think most of the coffee should show out of stock anyway. But please don't buy any coffee right now. Let me get all set up in the new place. Because then, all of the coffee that we're getting in from the roastery now is all whole bean, because we can grind right in our facility now. So that's what we're doing. So just wait to order coffee till like Friday. I should have everything and all the updated quantities and all that stuff. So with that said, I am going to make the drive home for my sleep on the couch tonight, my slumber on the couch, my slumber. But I appreciate, and now they're coming back too. These motherfuckers. Who cares?
Votes will be taken.
I'm not. Yeah, you can watch if you go to the house.gov.org.bullshit.lietouYou.com. If you go over there, you can watch the House hearing if you want. But as far as they're going to get it, because that Republicans control the House. That vote will then go to Senate, where it will lie on the Senate floor. So I will see you guys all tomorrow, probably an evening show, 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow. And then we'll go from there. Stargazer said you ordered coffee 4 days ago. Yeah, if I have it in stock right now, it's going to go out tomorrow as well. That's part of the plan, is just get all the coffee orders out, because I think my Reese supply is coming tomorrow. So, all right, guys, I will see you mañana. That stands for tomorrow.